Okay, we're live with Plane and Traffic, Louis Lee's own creation on Thursday nights. Your host tonight, Ray Guarino from Motormouth Radio. Nobody else is here, so this will be maybe a very short Plane and Traffic and kind of a boring one too, unless you want me to read you my email, because we survived by talking with each other and sharing car stories and all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's going to be kind of tough with just one person doing it because, I could read you a story, but I don't know if you're going to want to. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, look at that. Another fish in the pond. Oh, he's gearing up. He's earbudding it up. There he is.
Ray, what's up?
Matco Man Brian. I was just explaining to nobody watching how this is going to be a very short and quiet Plane in Traffic if it's just going to be me here reading my emails.
Man, what's going on? Where is everybody? What happened?
Well, Lewis was having some connection problems, and I thought so because I don't know if you're under the same rain deluge as we are up here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It is coming down. And I'm sure, and I know Lewis with weather, sometimes his internet gets screwy. So,
yeah, it was, they said, we're going to have a little bit of rain on Thursday, but the weekend's going to be great. And man, it's been a messed up day. And you name it, I've gone through the whole spectrum. So,
right.
I saved the show because I got a lot of stories today.
You literally saved the show. Yes, because like I said, I was going to sit here and read emails to people if nobody else came on. So, and it was funny too because I had to shoot over to the shop. I had one of the guy that runs the shop is a very avid fisherman.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so he's been bringing me fish, and this week it was striped bass, which was really nice. So when we went to pick it up, I forgot to bring, some ice packs, and a bag. So I took his, and then he calls me today and says, "Hey, you're going to be coming by soon. I wonder if you can, bring that bag back with the ice things, the frozen cube things.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to need them." I'm like, yeah, right. I said, okay. Today was going to be a bad day. I said, now tomorrow, it's all predicated around a letter we got in the mail about a couple of weeks ago. They're ripping up and repaving my street. There's like 4 small streets, mine being one of them, off of a bigger feeder road.
Yeah.
They're doing all of them. And they're going to do them all at the same time. So all cars off the road between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Limited access, So I got an auto parts store up the block that's like, they got cars and trucks everywhere during the day.
Yeah.
So we were waiting and nothing happened. Today's Thursday. And this morning, my wife and I went out to go food shopping. I spared you the newest pumpkin spice display. I just had to shake my head and walk past it. I was like, hell out of here. And what do you call it? As we left, I saw 2 heavy-duty dump trucks on that big street. And I said, uh-oh, I know what that is. Those are the trucks that are going to dump the graded asphalt.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, by the time we came back from shopping, they were grading the road, and I was able to sneak in through the side street and get into my driveway. So I told Ronnie, I said, listen, tomorrow, if it's raining in the morning, they won't be working, and I can get out and I'll come down to the shop. If it's a nice day, they're going to be working, especially if they're paving. Now you can't get out. So now I'm watching the weather, and they said, boy, tomorrow by 5 a.m. is supposed to clear up, and then by middle of the day, it's going to be bright and sunny and beautiful. So I said, okay. I picked my daughter up at the train tonight, and I said, I got to come up, drop her off, and I just got to shoot down to the shop and pick up this stuff. Which is good because I had to pick up my long 1/2-inch drive ratchet anyway. First job I'm going to do on my wife's car. And I came home in that rain, and it was like, you couldn't see at times. It was that bad. So
yeah, I hate. Well, like I said, you know, and of course for me, I hate being out in the rain because it's hard to get people to come out, you know, out to the truck. And, you know, of course, parking's a pain. I was downtown Silver Spring today.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, like I said, you're doing a lot of walking around in the rain. And it's funny, you know, the one thing that you hated when you were a technician was, you know, the car's dripping on you from the rain.
Yeah.
You know, and then, so, you know, this is like the same thing. You're still out in the rain, you know, getting rained on still, you know, so it brings back those memories of either the wet snow or the rain dripping on you.
Oh, that was the snow was always the worst. You get a car to lift, and as it starts, of course, all the heat is up high. So as the thing is defrosted, and it always goes down your neck. You know?
Yeah. So, but like I said, it was just, the rain was just terrible. And of course, you're driving down the road, and it's like, oh, this ain't too bad. And then, of course, you hit where you can't, you know, it's just pouring down rain, you know, and spurts and so forth. And it's actually, I left it outside. I didn't bring it in. I had my district rep with me today. Because I'm going through my renewal policy, you know, upgrade, you know, signing for the next 10 years with my, you know, franchise and so forth.
10 years they get you for, huh?
Well, that's well, this will be my third one. I mean, I'm 20 years in, and of course, you know, it's like, usually when the district rep goes out with us older guys, it's an easy day, you know. He can kind of take care of some of his stuff, and you know, we joke around, you know, we look for Hot Wheels, we eat tacos, you know, fun stuff, you know, go by the gun shop and every once in a while, you know, stuff entertaining.
Yeah.
But you know, here lately with a few things like I've talked to you about, you know, I was a little wound up, so it's like, this is going to be a fun ride. I could already see him like, this is going to be a fun ride. So playing in the rain, having that. And so I guess it was like around, I don't know what time it was, 2:00, I guess. I get the video chat from the wife, you know, and normally I don't hear from her. She's like, I really hate to bother you, but and I'm like, what's wrong? Because, you know, she looks a little woozy, and, you know,
really,
she said something blew up underneath your sink.
Underneath your sink?
In my bathroom.
Oh, okay.
And she said, you know, the smell was unbelievable.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay.
So what was Heisenberg keeping under the sink is what I want to know.
So it was a aerosol can of HCF.
Okay.
Which is a penetrating oil.
Yeah.
That's probably about 30 years ago when I was, you know, so it's none of this environmentally friendly stuff.
No, yeah. Tetraflora.
Yeah.
Chloride.
So somehow, somewhere along the line, the bottom of the can rusted out, and under pressure, it exploded under the sink. So, and made one hell of a mess.
Let me ask you one question. You know, I have a lot of old aerosol cans too.
Yeah.
And, you know, what happens is they go flat because the aerosol.
Yeah.
So how did yours gain pressure?
I don't know. I have no idea. And
the other question is, why do you have a penetrant under the sink?
Well, I guess it was, I did not know it was there, or I forgot that I put it there. So obviously it was one of those, I walked in the house with it, probably set it on the, you know, pool table or the stairs to go downstairs, and either somebody was coming over or whatever we had to clean up, and I just stuck it it underneath the sink, you know.
Any place where there's a door or a drawer, that's where the stuff goes.
So I was like, let's open up the house. Let's get the fans going. So we blew that out, and that was all good. So that was, the because every once in a while, like you said, I have a lot of old aerosol stuff, and every once in a while in the garage, something either freezes or something falls on it, and it, either breaks the top off of it, and you have some kind of slightly chemical wasteland spill going on for a minute.
It's kind of cool. Speaking of that, I have this stuff called Gibbs oil.
Gibbs,
We had talked about. I have 2 cans, and one of them didn't have a lot left in it. You could feel it's light, and I have it out in the garage, and there's like no aerosol left. But the beauty of it is, if you push the trigger, it'll drip out in like liquid form, which is cool.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was using. Let's let Isaac in. I was actually using that,
Coach,
with the ratchets. Hey, Coach Isaac, with the ratchets I was rebuilding, because it is, when it's fresh, it actually foams. It gets a little foamy, and it's got a real nice smell to it. So I've been making a cocktail with the ratchets. I've been using that and the trizoil and a little bit of everything, but all light, all very light.
So that was, that part, and luckily, and then Brianna was coming home, stopped by the Starbucks, and ripped the tire off the side of the car. So then we had to do, so it's just been, and of course it's all in this pouring down rain episode. It's just like never a dull moment.
I was telling my wife about that last night at dinner, and I said, yeah, Brian's going through the stuff that I went through a number of years ago. My older daughter, when she was at home, she inherited something from me that's probably not the best thing in the world. And that is the drive and desire to get home, no matter what condition you or your car is in, whether it's burning, on fire, smoking, like get it home. Because, she's always had this run of flats and blowouts. She drove one once came home on the Parkway, and she says, yeah, Dad, I got a flat. I'm like, oh, let me go look. So I go out. Well, I put my hand through the hole in the side of the tire. I said, this isn't a flat. You were on the Parkway, I'll
go on.
No. So I've had to fix a lot of crazy stuff from her, and I thought of you, and of course the regular nail screws, all the stupid stuff. But your wife picked up something pretty interesting.
Oh, that was my mom.
Oh, your mom. I'm sorry.
That's right, my mom had ran over a pocket knife, and the knife had gone up through the tire. And
the tire shop I go to has one of the real big plastic pretzel containers on the counter.
Yeah.
And in there, he puts all the crazy stuff that he finds, like, wrenches and screwdrivers, things that he finds in tires. So
yeah, it was funny. I don't know if I said it. I think it was it this Monday or last Monday when I was at the tire shop? It was a Jetta, and it sounded like it was on train tracks coming down, and he turns into the shop, and it's just the spare tire, just the donut, just the rim. There's no tire.
I see that on YouTube a lot. Yeah.
It's just the rim. And I'm standing there with the guy, and he goes, hey, can you put my tire back on? And the guy was thinking, oh, so he's got the tire in the trunk and he wants to put on a tire, to put it back. He goes, yeah, sure, no problem.
Right.
So the guy gets out of the car, opens the trunk, and he's got the donut tire. And what happened was that the control arm was bent, so the wheel was at an angle, and on the side of the side of the donut, the side of the tread, it wore all the way through and cut the tire, and it had slid off the rim.
Wow.
So he wanted him to jack it up and slide the tire back onto the donut rim.
Oh, God.
And he's like, no, you need a control arm. And he goes, yeah, I know that, but I don't have any money. So just slide the tire back on the rim.
Right.
Like, I don't know how that was supposed to stay on.
You know, one of the things I watch on YouTube is a channel called Just Rolled In and Mechanical Nightmares. And they're always I just watched one tonight with this guy. It was a Nissan. And they said the person drove this thing like 8 miles to the dealership to trade it in. And the rim, it laid itself down to like maybe a 9 or 10 inch diameter, damaged the fender and the whole thing, and they were trading this car in.
Yeah,
like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. But no, there it is. I mean, they're not kidding you. It's for real.
they had, and then later in the day, I was at a shop and the guy was shaking his head, and I was like, Ed, what's wrong? And he said, this car was here 4 months ago because it had a broken lower control arm. And the person said they didn't have the money and they'd be back. Well, they brought it back 4 months later with the broken control arm that she had been driving on.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, the fender was completely beat up from where the tire was kind of moving around inside the.
Yeah.
And I can't even believe it. She was able to keep it on the road.
Another one I just saw tonight. The guy was the customer complained that the minivan had a clunking noise in the front. And the guy goes to back the van out and pull it into the bay, and the front wheel just falls. And you see the strut, and the top of the fender was all disformed from the strut hitting it. It's like, and this person was driving this vehicle like that. Like, yeah, it had a little bit of a clunk, I'd say. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
People aren't stupid in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they're everywhere, right?
Yeah. I even had my sister wanted me to look at her car. I have 2 sisters. One of them wanted me to look at her car, and she said when she go over train tracks, it would kind of clunk. And I start jacking it up, and I'm like, the wheel's not coming off the ground.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I jack it up a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, the car's lifting, the wheel's not coming off the ground. So I'm like, okay. So I start looking over at the struts and where it connects up the bushing that's up in the fender well.
The upper berry mount. Yeah.
Yeah. It had disintegrated. And I said, well, there's your clunking. I said, we need to get that new part. And
I'll tell you how the diagnosis of that stuff, like, sometimes you have to wait for a problem to get worse before you can find it. And when I was driving my Mazda 3, I had a clunky noise from the front right, and it was only certain times. If I went over like a rough parking lot, the grade in the parking lot, it wouldn't do it on the road. A lot of conditions it wouldn't do it under. It was only sometimes. And I had changed the struts like not even a year prior. I used quick struts. I bought the quick struts, so I had the bearing and everything was on there. So of course I look and make sure everything's in place, and everything was tight. And then I bounced the fender, and I'm looking to see if I see any movement anywhere. No, everything was, I couldn't make the noise replicate. So I said, okay, I got to wait. And I forgot. I think I was watching something online, and the guy was talking about motor mounts, making noises and all. So I looked at the motor mounts in the car, and everything was fine there too. Until one day, I think that's what I did. I was in the shop, and I said, the upper mount was pretty easy to get at. And I said, there were 2, I think, 17 millimeter bolts that hold it on. And it was a 2-piece mount. I took it out, and it literally fell apart.
Oh.
It was that was the noise. But under tension with the motor on the weight of the engine, like on the ground, on the car, it wouldn't separate. I guess it would only separate when the suspension would move, and then it could open and it would make that clunk.
Yeah.
And, it drove me crazy because I couldn't find it for such a long time. I'm going to see if I have a picture of it. I'm sure I have a picture of it.
Well, and even in the situation with my sister, in her defense, I didn't see it. You couldn't see it until, she didn't, driving down the regular road, she didn't feel it. She'd go over the train tracks when she felt it. And, wasn't until I was jacking it up that you could see it completely disintegrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Last time we tried doing this, last week, it wouldn't let me share the screen. And you know what? Yeah, it doesn't have share screen here again either.
Huh.
Something happened. That's interesting. Oh, well. That ain't going to happen. So, yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you have to just, you can't go by how it looks. You got to,
So, and then also the big excitement for the day was I can't remember the date now. Something like 17 something, but the number one firehouse caught fire today downtown Silver Spring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And actually the original it's the original firehouse, and it was the original firehouse, or it was an active firehouse for about, I guess it's been up to, I think maybe, I don't know if it's been exactly 10 years, but it was the active firehouse until they built a new one across the street. And then this one turned into a restaurant. It was called the Firehouse.
Okay.
It was a restaurant. And next thing you know, I hear all these helicopters and all these sirens. And of course, it was right around the corner from where I was. And of course, they blocked everything off. So then,
right.
It was kind of sit and wait. But like I said, it's never a dull moment. I'm waiting to get that reality TV show going.
So let me ask you this: what were you doing down in Silver Springs, walking around the streets and doing all that stuff when you should have been on your truck selling tools?
I had the truck parked, going selling. In all the shops.
Oh, all the shops are down there. Okay.
Yeah, all the shops. There's 2.5 streets or 3 streets where all the automotive shops are down in the dirty side of town that they want to close, that they want to get rid of,
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
You mean you weren't looking for Hot Wheels?
No, actually, it was funny. I was talking about that earlier. I had my district rep with me, and I had a first stop of the day. Had a little bit of an issue, got behind. My rep called me, goes, "Hey, where the hell are you?" And I said, "I'm still around the corner from because my day starts right around the corner from my house." And I'm like, I guess it's 15 miles maybe. That's where the route starts. I have 2 gas stations right around the corner from me. And then I go right down New Hampshire Avenue into Silver Spring, which is right on the DC line down there. And then I do there and then come, and then I head back. So I'm still like at the first stop by my house. And he's like, "Holy smokes." And I was like, "Well, I'm coming down that way." He goes, "Well, do you want me to come up?" And I was like, "No, I'll come down." So that put me about 40 minutes to an hour behind. And even Andrew said, that's my district rep, he was funny because we were running and he's like, "We're not going to look for Hot Wheels today."
Now.
And I said, "No," I said, we got to make up some time. I said, I don't have time to play around today.
And I know we were food shopping today, and there's this one aisle. It's kind of like where the cereal and stuff is, and they just have 5 hooks with Hot Wheel multi-packs on them. So I always stop and look. She goes, "Why do you always stop and look at that?" I'm like, "Because I got to find these cars Brian's talking about. I want to see if they have any special, collector, the special stuff." She's like, "They're never going to deal. It's nothing." I'm like, all right. Let's go.
Yeah. So he was like, so Andrew, it was kind of funny because Andrew was like, "Oh, so I guess we're working." I said, I know sometimes it looks like it's all fun and games, but I got work to do. I do, do what I got to do first, so.
Yeah.
We were at Walmart the other day, and we were looking right in the center of the, one of the big main aisles. We were looking at different vitamins and stuff. Like, they had a vitamin display.
Yeah.
And we're looking, and there was a Batmobile, and it was gold, like the color of the Batmobile. And I was like, oh, check this out. I was telling my wife, and I'm like, this is one of the ones Brian was talking about, I think this. And she goes, you don't need it. And I'm like, this is one of the ones that he was talking about. And she's like, you don't need it. And I'm like, but look, it's gold. She goes, great. It's a different color. You don't need it. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah, the gold one is just a regular bait. They do that with the Batman. They did one where they did the Batmobile in the Scooby-Doo van color layout. Oh, wow. And I almost didn't buy it because I was like, God, this is like ugly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with all the Batmobiles that I have, I got it. And it's actually kind of a hard piece to find. I mean, but it's nothing too super special. But I tell you,
Isaac said, look at the gold Batmobile. And his wife said,
I said no.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it back.
So, it was kind of funny. They had, I had stopped by, I don't know what day it was, ran in, stopped in, and I'm flipping through the pegs, and this guy comes up and he, like came up right behind me, and I was like, can I help you? And he's like, did you find the chase? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, I did. I found both of them. And I was like, and you're telling me? Like, I wanted to bop him in the nose,
What was he doing coming back? He found the prize. He should have been gone.
So I said, well, that's nice. And I said, how about you backing up, buddy? And he's like, oh, he goes, well, and I said, I'm not buying them, dude. And he's like, oh. So I guarantee you, he probably found them. He's in the store still. He probably took them and stuck them one aisle over, and he probably wanted to sell them to me before he even bought them.
Right.
I mean, he wanted me, hey, for $10, I'll give you this, and I would have to buy it in the store to rebuy it when I leave the store.
Well, now that's the thing, though. If he didn't tell you that he didn't buy it, you would have given him cash and go walking out the door with him.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, remember years ago at Walmart when they would have their midnight Christmas sale, their Black Friday or whatever,
Friday.
And they would have something like, if you bought this, you got a free laptop, or you bought this and you got a free TV or whatever. Well, this was, like I said, this was many moons ago. Me and Jenny had gone down, and we were buying the girls' bikes or something like that. Of course, they had their discount and all that stuff. So we wait in line. We get in. It's a mad rush. People running around, blah, blah, blah. Well, all of a sudden, we're standing there. We picked up the bikes, and we're waiting for some dude to come by to get them off the, thing. And this dude walks by with a shopping cart, and he's got like 5 of the laptops in the cart. Comes up, and he goes, hey, want a laptop? And I'm like, well, is that the one they're giving away for free? He goes, well, yeah, but for $50 you can have one. So he was selling them in the store because they didn't have any more to give out free. But if you wanted the free one, you had to pay him $50 to have it so that you can get the free. You know what I'm saying?
He was a guy from the store.
Huh?
He was from the store.
No.
Oh, he was an outside guy.
So
how did he get so many of them?
Well, when the door opened, he runs in there with a shopping cart and he dumps in a whole bunch of them. And of course, he's walking around the store trying to sell. He's trying to sell the merchandise that he doesn't even own, that he doesn't even work for in the store.
You live in some crazy ass places, man.
So
You know what? I'll tell you something. We didn't even have Walmart up here. I don't know when it came to the area, but I didn't even go in it. I wouldn't even go in the store for years. I had no interest in it
yeah.
because I'd been in Walmart on vacation in other places, and at that time on the internet, that was like an email that went around every week. Was like the people of Walmart, and I was like, damn, I don't want to have any part of that. Like that's not my world, So I wouldn't even go into Walmart for a good long while. Now I do because certain things I want, but I wouldn't even go into place.
So, but it was kind of interesting. So he goes, "Oh, I found, I said, look, buddy, back off." I said, and he's like, "Well, and I was like, look, dude, I'm not paying. I'm not paying. I'll find, because I ran into another guy. It was an older guy I ran into. I'd never seen him before. And he said something like, because the store was pretty empty. And he goes, "Is it always like this?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're not from, I said, "You don't," I said, "I've never seen you before." And he goes, "Oh, well, I'm over in Bethesda area." He said, I'd bought some stuff off eBay and the person lived over here. And I was, it's an older couple. It was actually kind of funny when he said, because he said it was an older couple and the husband collected and he doesn't want to get rid of anything. I guess he's starting to have a few screws loose. So the wife is selling the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, I got to meet this lady over here. And she's, I bought some stuff, but I figured I'd run in here and see." And he goes, "There's really not much here." And I was like, "Yeah, there's never anything here. I don't need a new person in my area." I said, "No, there's never anything here." So,
wow, protecting your Walmart area.
That's pretty tough, man.
Wow.
So he's like, "Oh, you gotta come on out my way." And I said, "No, that's too far to drive." Really, it isn't, but to run around with all that.
So how old was this guy?
He was probably, well, he said he was retired, and he was pretty, I would say he was in his mid-60s.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know. We're right there, Ray.
I am there. But it's funny because there was a guy in the supermarket today with his wife, and I always watch the guys with their wives. And I know that, like, I interact with my wife totally different than these guys. These guys usually just follow behind. Yes, dear. They carry something. They're like, nah, that's not how we play it. So I kept seeing this one guy. We kept passing like opposite ways through the aisles, and I'm guessing he was probably about my age, maybe a little older, but he looked older.
Yeah,
he looked beaten down, is what it was. Yeah, he had that look on his face. He was just kind of. So, at one point, I was just waiting for the time. I was just gonna say to him in the aisle, like, "So this is what retired life is about, huh?" I wanted to see what he had to say. I couldn't find that right moment because I know my wife's gonna hit me with a can of soup. Like, what are you talking to this guy for?
Well, the funny part was this guy, we were talking, we got talking a little bit, and he was like, he said, the strangest thing was, he said, I said, he goes, "Oh, how long have you been collecting?" And I said, "Well, off and on. I mean, I got my stuff when I was, I still have a lot of my stuff from when I was a kid." I said, "I did it. I go through spurts where I'm real heavy and then I'm light, like I said, but off and on." And, I told him, I said, I'm 56, and I've been doing it as long as I could ask for a car or buy a car. I've been doing it." And he's like, "Oh, wow." He goes, he said, "I don't know what it was because it was the strangest thing." He said, "My mom had passed about a year and a half ago. And we went over and, to clean out the house. And he said, I found, in cleaning up, he goes, I found my original Hot Wheels in 68.
That's a score.
He said, huh?
That's a score.
Yeah, and he said, he goes, you know, they're not perfect. They all were played with. They were my favorites. And he said, I almost have. He goes, ironically, I didn't realize, you know, I almost have the first 16, you know, the Sweet 16, you know.
Right.
And he says, I'm only missing like 2 of them or something like that.
Wow.
And he
That's
goes,
close.
he's like, so I brought them home and I cleaned them up and I set them on, you know, my shelf. And he said, I don't know what happened, but he goes, since then, he says, I'm out every day. I'm digging through the trenches. He says, I'm buying up stuff off eBay. I mean, this guy, he said he's just going through all kinds of, I mean, I was like, whatever hit or struck a nerve, but he is going crazy.
But did he get the 2 that he was missing is what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean,
Maybe
so then he's like,
for.
oh, well, we have this club that meets every third Sunday at the blah, blah, blah. And then we have that. And I said, look, buddy, I said, it was really great talking to you.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, you know, talking about a club, I talked to my buddy the other day. He's a officer in the Long Island Oldsmobile Club. It's a big club.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of stuff. I went to one of their meetings a couple months ago, and he wants me to come in as a guest speaker. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll go in. All right. But I told him, I said, Bob, I got to tell you, I said, one of the things, you know, that I really liked about your meeting was the food. And like, yeah. And I said to him, just to preface that, I said, every once in a while, I get that urge for like a greasy diner burger, you know, with the onion rings and the French fries and the, you know, or like I got to have White Castle, you know, like, you don't do it all the time, but you got to do it once in a while. I said, for a while now, I've been having the urge to have what we used to call back when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, we used to call it a garbage pie pizza, you know, and the garbage pie is just, they put everything on it, everything with the kitchen sink. And we'd always tell them no anchovies. So there'd be like red pepper, green pepper, onion, sausage, maybe meatball. It was like the slice of pizza would weigh a ton. You know, it had everything on it. And I said, I just been wanting to have one of them. But people now in the pizzerias don't even know what it is unless you get somebody who lived through it. So I said, at your meeting, I know you had pizza. So I went up to get myself a slice of pizza, and I got one. It was just, you know, the first ones were just cheese pizza. So I get one. And I said I was impressed because it was a thin crust, oily, which is good, and it was delicious. I said, and I can eat one piece of pizza and be done. But I said, you know what? I had to go up and get this. I had to be a gavone because I had like 12 boxes of pizza up there at least.
Right.
So I'm walking down the line, and it went from a cheese pizza to like pepperoni. Then it was like pepperoni and onion. Then it was a mushroom. Maybe it was like one with chicken cutlet on it or whatever. And at the end, the last box was
the
garbage pie. And I was like, oh. So I grabbed that piece. I ate it. I said, man, it put me over the top. I said, but it really made my month. He's like, wow, I had no idea. I said, yeah, man, that was. So I said, when I come back to talk with you guys, and go to that same pizzeria. I'm requesting. Yeah, I want the garbage pie.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
So it was funny because the guys I told him, I said, hey, you know, but I said, look, I said it was really great talking to you, but I said I really don't need a die-cast friend. And he looked at me and he goes, I said, look, I said every time that I've tried to have a buddy in this die-cast thing, you know, I've gotten screwed about either stealing a car, you know, stealing it or trying to beat you out of some deal, you know, that you work up or whatever, you know. And he's like, oh, well, you know, and I said, look, I said, I had this one guy, and this was 20 some years ago. And it was like, you meet up and, you know, like I said, you know, it's always funny on a Sunday morning when you go into a Target or a Walmart when they open up, because there's like 3 old guys standing there, and you know exactly what this is, the race to the chase of the, you know, to the Hot Wheels, because this is, you know, there's no reason for these 3 guys to be standing there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, of course, like I said back in the day, and, you know, of course, you get talking, your buddies. Well, I had this one guy that it would be like I'd if I stopped at work or something. This was way before I did Macco. This is when I was turning wrenches. But if I stopped someplace and I found a couple good cars or whatever, I'd buy and take it, with him and say, hey, look, I got these cars, and he would buy them. So one day I stopped by his house because we always met at the parking lot, and I stopped by his house, and he opened the door and he's like, oh, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we got to keep this on the download. The wife is upset or whatever, He's like, yeah, come on in. So I walk in. The house looks like it's out of like Better Homes and Gardens. It's clean. It's nice. Doesn't look lived in. And I'm like, man, this is kind of weird. I said, as a die-cast collector, I got die-casts all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking, and I said, hey, Frank, I found some cars. He goes, oh, yeah, okay. Buys them. And I'm like looking around. The wife gets me a lemonade. We're, talking. We're bullshitting. I'm like, God, okay. I said, man, something's right. I mean, this ain't right. So next weekend at the Target, we all meet up. We're talking. He's like, yeah, thanks for getting me those cars. If you find any more, let me know. I was like, yeah. So we get in, and of course, we find some stuff. And he's like, hey, I said, hey, you want to go over to the Walmart? He goes, oh, no, I got something to do. And I'm like, oh, Sunday morning, you got something to do. Okay. Yeah, all right. So he takes off. What do? I follow him.
Nice.
So we're driving. Well, there was used to be a store that they sold die-cast. It was a die-cast store.
Uh-huh.
Well, this dude goes to this place and he's selling it to the store. He's not, he's what we call as a scalper. He's beating and he's selling it to, and I was like, oh, okay. Dumbass me. I can him over all the goods, and he's out making. So after that, somebody says, hey, you want to be my friend? Hey, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Right. That's funny.
Yeah. But
so Ray, you like the thin crust pizza?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Always did.
You too, Brian?
I like all pizza. Pizza's a
Me too.
pizza is that you want to get to my heart? That's pizza is that's the worst, dude.
So does your brother really just taunt the hell out of you because he has the best pizza in the world, like outside of his house?
No.
He should. Because he does. He has in Brooklyn, he's got some of the best pizza around. We have it good out here too. The whole area is great, but Brooklyn, one of the things it's known for is pizza.
Yeah.
And stabbings and shootings and
sounds like Arizona.
Yeah.
Other than the pizza part. Just add burritos.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my brother is what is that called?
No.
He can't eat yeast. He's
gluten free.
Yeah,
Okay, they do make gluten free pizza dough now because it
is. I know, but come on.
I never had it, so I don't know if it's any good.
It's like when they make a diet Oreo cookie. Come on, it's not the same.
Right.
It may look like it and maybe kind of smell like it, but when you want to get down and dirty.
Actually, my wife had bought some just by design. I don't know why. It was a pasta. I grew up on Ronzoni, and then we went to Barilla and some other ones, but she got this other pasta. It's like a brown color, and I think it's a gluten-free. And I don't know. She got it for a reason, and I don't know what it was. And we ate it. I said, you know what? Yeah, doesn't matter to me. It tastes fine. Probably because it had our spaghetti sauce on it, which that's where the flavor is. But
I hate to really say it, and as a guy that loves Italian, Italians food is one of my favorites. But I did find some where they make it cauliflower?
Yeah, cauliflower crust.
cauliflower pasta.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It doesn't hold up well. It's for that you might be able to get that midnight snack, but the next day it doesn't really stay the same. But I was really surprised because I switched over. I can't remember the name of the brand I had gotten, but everybody was kind of shocked. I sneak this stuff in, and if I don't get any kind of reaction when everybody's eating, it can't be that bad until
right.
I think I got caught from Molly because when I went to go recycle the box, it was like I picked up a handful of recycles and laid it in there and plugged it. And she's like, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, girl. Leave it." And she starts, "What the hell is this?"
It's something you didn't know about, so don't worry.
She said, "When did we start doing this?" And I said, "We've had it 3 or 4 times."
Right.
And then of course I thought something was different, and I'm like, save that.
No, that's okay, because you could think something is different, but then if it wasn't enough to say something about it, you got to let it go. Like tonight, my wife made Swedish meatballs, and my mother had a recipe that I loved. It's in a light brown gravy, and you make it over egg noodles and all. And, so I took a taste of one, same time my daughter did. And, my wife's like, okay, I can see. She's like, what do you think? What do you think? And my daughter, she actually jumped the gun and says, yeah, what's that taste? It tastes almost like cinnamon or something. I was like, yeah, there's some kind of a spice taste in this that shouldn't be there. It should taste like meatballs and gravy. And my wife said, no, it's this recipe. It said to put in a little bit of cinnamon and some like allspice and something else. I was like, Old Spice? What? I'm like, I said, I think if you made it without that stuff, it would have been great. Like it was funny since we both said it at the same time. She knew. She was okay. I'm just gonna throw the rest of these out.
Yeah, got busted.
Yeah, get rid of them.
Yeah. That's funny. I like like I said, I'll try anything once, maybe twice, but
yeah. Well, on that note, cauliflower. We had cauliflower rice or riced cauliflower. They call it. And we got that, I don't know, within the last year or whatever. I said, I'll give it a shot because I'll eat cauliflower and I love broccoli. I like vegetables. I do. And we had it. And I said, hey, it's not bad. I'll eat it. I really haven't.
Yeah, I go through, I don't want to say phases really, but I mean, I do have, cauliflower rice or whatever, like you said.
Yeah.
Trying to, it was funny. I was at the store, and this is where you got to read the package because they're lucky that if I didn't have to drive all the way back up there, that place would have been a car wash. But I had gotten, I love that, red beans and rice, and I grabbed 2 packs, threw them in the thing, went and checked out, got home, and was putting the stuff away, and I was like, man, this feels kind of light.
Oh.
And it was the same box and everything. And I said, man, this feels kind of light. And I didn't really think much of it. Of course, 2 days later, I was going to have red beans and rice. Opened the package. It was no rice. It was just seasoning.
Oh, it was seasoning packet. Yeah.
But it was in the same size as the box.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, of course, I look and I read and it says red beans and rice season, not, red beans and, and I was like,
I go for that Royal Negro.
I was like, man, this is going to really throw me over the edge.
You said it before, Isaac, that I always said if I could probably live on Chinese food alone if I had to. There's enough different, but Mexican food is another one. I could live on just Mexican food, man. We've
had tacos 3 nights this week. You know what I'm saying? Really? So yeah.
Wow. My mom is real picky. She likes Sonoran Mexican food.
What kind?
Sonoran, because the region here is Sonoran. Sonora, the northern state of Mexico that borders Arizona. Well, you have, I think, 2, but the main one just south of us is Sonora, Mexico.
So how is that classified, or what makes it different from other types?
Well, there is a restaurant here in town called Guadalajara, and theirs is more coastal as to what would be in Guadalajara, Mexico, and it's I guess it's a little bit different. I like it, but she says, "Oh no, it's not Sonoran. It's not." I couldn't really.
Is it prepared different? Do they use different ingredients?
I think it's the different ingredients, the different spices.
That could be, regional spices.
She'll probably be texting me here in a second, trying to tell me what I got.
Tell her, come on with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like I'll, like Brian was saying, I'll try pretty much anything. Now for me, as far as like if I go to the burrito shops and stuff, I always have to get a bean and cheese burrito. Now I'll get a carne asada burrito, a chorizo burrito.
Oh, chorizo is phenomenal.
Yeah, but I always get a bean and cheese burrito to go with it, whether I eat it right then or if I save it for later.
Yeah, see, I'm a beef and bean guy. Yeah.
See, for me, it brings back a memory. When I was younger, when we didn't have much to eat, we'd have pork chops and rice. I remember there was a period where we, the economy, whatever it was pork chops and rice, and it was, we'll put butter on it. And then the next day it was like, put soy sauce on it, always put something on it to make it.
I remember a period where pork chops was like a delicacy. You couldn't even afford those, kind of like it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, food is up like crazy. We got a good deal on porterhouse steaks today. That was like phenomenal, man. It took $3 off, which was great. I mean, it was good stuff.
But we'd go to visit my nana, and my nana always had her refried beans she made from scratch, and it was nana beans, and she'd make tortillas. She'd make tortillas every day, and so and she had some cheese shredded, and so I'd have a bean and cheese burrito. So it brought back that memory. It was a break, a reprieve, whatever you want to call it, from the pork chops and rice. So it just stuck with me. It goes back to a comfort food, a comfort memory.
I mean, a lot of people would kill for pork chops and rice. It's like they're eating like hamburger and something out of a can.
Over here or down this way, pork chops are still pretty reasonable on pork chops here. Ground beef here is just freaking insane. A pound of it's over $9 or whatever.
Yeah, we saw a spike with the ground beef too. Yeah,
and I could buy butterflied pork chops. That's just, a thick one cut in half, two thick ones cut in half, and it's something like $5 or whatever.
Have you ever stuffed them or bought?
Oh yeah,
pork chops. That's good stuff.
Yeah. They had we have this I can't remember what it's called. It's called is it a butcher wagon or butcher something? But it's a mobile thing, and they were having 20 ribeyes for $30.
Wow.
That's a good deal. That's a little over $225, $250 or whatever for a ribeye.
That's great.
And that's a good. I got they have a couple trucks that they drive around.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
have you guys ever tried menudo?
Menudo.
No, what's that?
It's a soup. It's so you take hominy and you take cow tripe, the stomach lining.
Oh geez.
And you take the cow's feet, the patas, some soup bones, and you I normally I can get the tripe cut up. Years ago I'd have to get it and then spend the time cutting it up into squares or whatever. But you wash it real good and then you put it all together, and it takes, I want to say, roughly about 3 to 6 hours to cook. You cook it in a big huge you know those stainless steel pots that you use, like you see in the South they use for like a crab cook-off, or
right.
Yeah. So you take one of those big pots and you put garlic in it, you put couple onions in it,
Anything to kill the flavor of that cow foot. Because I'm watching Brian's face, and I know in his head he's saying,
No. I like I said, I would try anything. I'm not shy, so
it could be very, very good. I just wouldn't want to know what was in it.
Well, and it's funny because when me and my wife were first together, I gave it to her, and she said, "What's in it?" I said, "Eat it, try it first."
Yeah.
And she tried it, and she said, "Oh, it's so good."
Boy, is that a red flag?
Yeah. And then I told her what was in it, and then she was like, "I forget that. I can't believe you had me eat that," but it was so good. But now, so I usually cook it for the holidays, and she complained. She's like, it's so good, but it smells, so the house smells so bad to me. I told her, I said, to me, when I smell it, that's the smell of the holidays or a funeral. Because it's common, we the families here will have it for a funeral, afterward celebration and whatnot. But it's one of those, I think it's like anything else in every different culture. There's certain foods that when you grow up with you're used to it, you know what's in it, it doesn't seem so bad. But if you didn't grow up with it and you hear what's in it, you're like, yeah, no thank you.
Right.
Like my kids love it.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, I after I cook it, like that afternoon, after everybody's come over and shown up to eat it, I fill a bunch of the Tupperware style dishes, and I put it in the freezer and then the fridge, and I have to hide it because my kids they attack it.
Oh wow. Wow. Yeah, there's always regional and stuff that's like that. That's very, to a group. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool. So since we're supposed to be talking about cars, I guess, Brian, what's new on the tool front? Any tool news?
Actually, I meant to bring one in to show you, but I actually got the tampered proof Phillips.
Okay. Oh, you were talking about that last week, right?
Yeah, I finally got them in, and everybody's been like, "Holy crap! How can you take the most simplest fastener and f it up?"
Right.
Right. So, and like I said, I didn't get I have not personally seen it yet on the Ford, other than reading it in the trade magazine, in the magazine saying, "Hey, this is coming." And, like I said, even if it's, I guess, a year away before, it really starts becoming known or come across, it'd be 5 years before you would see one right in your shop. So
I'll tell you, like when I was working on the ratchets, after figuring out Matco's snap ring configuration, I still like to know the guy who designed why he did it the way he did it. Because
what do you mean?
With the snap ring, I call it upside down, with the open end being up. Usually the open end is facing down on a ratchet, on a snap ring.
The open end.
Well, I texted you. I asked you, did the snap ring have to face up? And you said, yeah. I've seen other ratchets where they face down.
Yeah.
Down,
Well, the
you mean down towards the shaft, right?
Correct.
well the reason why, Ray, is because
I'd like to know that.
okay, well, you're talking about like this, right?
Yeah.
Why are they up top,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, the reason why is because this is keeping pressure across that pawl down here. And if it's open, it doesn't have the pressure or even pressure across the bottom.
All right,
So
I'll give you that. I'll
like-
give you that. I don't think it's that much less pressure, truthfully, but maybe they
Well,
tested it.
the problem that you have is that when you're connected and you can feel the play, there is play in there. There's got to be wiggle
Yes.
room, right?
I have noticed that. Yeah.
Well, by the time you put 12 inches on it,
Oh,
this
easy there,
gets
cowboy.
this gets a little bit more exciting, and
Yeah.
then this pressure builds up, and the paw will jump.
Oh, okay. Now, did they find
So-
that? Did they find out with the finer tooth ratchets? Was it like that with in the early days with the coarser ratchets?
It's always been that way.
It's always been okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Now
tell you.
this-
So what's the
Now
so
this,
what's the secret? You know, I had the snap ring compressed all the way, and I put it in, and the two little ears of the snap ring, I had a little trouble getting it past the square drive of the. You know, I had to use another screwdriver, and
yeah,
I had to do some. I actually had to whack it a couple times.
Yeah, you have to with the 3/8 head in it. The 1/4-inch head's not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
you can see how much room you have with the 1/4-inch head.
Yeah. Okay.
That 3/8 head, actually, what you kind of have to do is put it on with it in the down position and roll and roll it up.
That's interesting.
And that gives you the clearance so you have a good bite and you can go along.
Okay. Do you
So-
have one of those ratchet? It's probably a stupid question. One of those ratchet vices that holds the ratchet when you rebuild them? No. The other guy, I saw that on, like Clay used to show. His guy had one on his truck. It was a special vise made to hold the ratchets. Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
No, and then of course, like I said, you can kind of, now this was our special forces. It was a
Yeah,
pass through.
that's on my list of things to look for, by the way.
Yeah. But see, it shows the inside of the rat. I mean, there's no cover.
Wow. Right.
Because see, this comes out,
Right.
and then you would put, this is the socket.
Yep. Yeah, I put that on my list to look for if I ever come
Yeah.
across one. Yeah, I have.
Now, you can find these fairly easy. This is the part that's difficult because they no longer make
Oh, wow. Okay.
the 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. These things are
Right. Unobtainium.
actually, it was kind of nice, and I got overly excited, and the guy kind of looked at me like, "Man, what a dork!" But I was over at the Ford dealership that used to be a Chevrolet dealership, and they were cleaning up, and a guy goes, "Hey, I found this funny little finger ratchet."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I said, "Let me see that."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh yeah." Well, I said, "That's not really a finger ratchet, you know." He goes, "Oh, it's not?" I said, "No." I said, "I'll trade you for a finger ratchet."
Oh, look at you.
And he's like, "For this thing?" And I said, "Oh yeah."
Oh, yeah.
Come on out to the truck,
Yeah.
as the spider said to the fly.
Uh-huh. Nice.
And he goes, I was like, "Oh man." And I'm like,
Yeah.
and
You
he's
couldn't
like,
wait.
"You seem a little overexcited about that." And I said, "Now that I have it in my hands," I said, "you can't find these.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part to find."
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, I should have held out." And I said, "Yeah, you should have."
So what kind of finger ratchet did you give him?
I don't know if I have one down here, but it was basically it had the end, but it had like aluminum.
A knurled end.
Yeah. Instead of using just a cut on
And
the
it does
thing.
ratchet?
Yeah.
See, because I have two of those, a 3/8 and a half, but they don't ratchet. It's just a knurled end with the drive on it.
Right. Some ratchet, some don't. These were, like I said.
You know, I'll tell you, Isaac, tell me if you disagree. it's a sickness. It really is a sickness, man. I tell you. You know, I was over my friend's house on Saturday helping him work on this moped that he got. And I'm not a moped guy. I was a motorcycle guy, but I'm not a moped guy. And you know, we had to do a lot of work, get the carburetor squared away and a bunch of stuff. And the funny thing is, this guy, he's a woodworker. He's a carpenter. He does finished woodwork. He's done a lot of work in my house. He's phenomenal. His whole family are all great woodworkers. He has the god most awfulest set of tools. His tools, I had better tools when I was 8 than he has now. Like he had that metal box socket set that Fingerhut sold. That's like the socket set. It's not even chrome vanadium.
But along with the pass through, this one's kind of hard to come across, but I actually have an air ratchet.
Oh, cool. Oh, a pass-through air
wow.
ratchet.
Yeah.
That's
So
nice.
that would, you know.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah. So as far as like you were saying, a sickness, no.
I didn't even get to the sickness part yet, but go on.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
He as we're working, he told me, you know, listen, I want to pay you for helping me, or we can barter. I've bartered with this guy all of our lives. So I'm like, yeah, dude, don't worry, we'll work it out. So he goes into this little drawer file. He goes, I want to show you something. My wife's dad, my father-in-law, had given me these, and I don't know, I don't need them. Now he has got, like I said, the god awfulest set of tools. The screwdriver, the straight set screwdriver is rounded off. The needle nose pliers, I couldn't even hold on to the cable I was trying to move. They were so worn. And he didn't have a 10-millimeter wrench. Yes, and he had a couple of wrench sets, like a great neck wrench set, and he showed me. No, it went from like 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. And I'm looking at the, you know, at the rollout. I'm like, you're right. They didn't even put one in there. I'm like, what the hell is that all about?
Yeah.
So we had some odds and end wrenches, of course, you know, everything but a 10. I'm like, dude, I got to get you a 10-millimeter wrench. These things fall off of trees, you know? So
If you don't lose it.
tree. So he brings these things out of the drawer and he says, I got these from my father-in-law and I don't know even what they are. And I saw they were green boxes. I'm like, okay, it's SK. He's got SK stuff.
Yeah.
So he had a nice SK metric socket set. They had some wear on it, but they were all there. I think then the other was a deep 3/8 socket set. The third one was a set of drivers, you know, hex drives. He goes, I don't even know what these are or what you do with them. I'm like, dude, I just used one of those yesterday. You kidding me? And then he had a set of deep sockets on a rail. I'm looking, and they're snap-ons. So I said, so now I'm like starting to sweat. Like, yeah, I just like, give me the tools and I'll help you with your carburetor. Just give me those.
Yeah.
And I don't need them. What am I going to do with them? I don't even know what I'm going to do with them, but I want them. You know?
Yeah.
That's the sickness.
Well, you know, when it comes to tools, I don't necessarily have Matco money or Snap-on money. But and I'm not saying that's the way it's going to always be. I will have it because if you focus on being positive, and you'll get there. If you talk negative, you won't get there. But at the same token, when I need a tool, I'm happy to have a tool. But I can tell you from my dad, he would go to yard sales and pick up if my dad didn't have it, it didn't exist, because he would go and he could have a 10-millimeter wrench. He'd have probably 10 or 15 of them, because you never know when you need a 10-millimeter or whatever the tool might be. He would have them everywhere. He kept his stuff in his toolboxes, but he would have them in his truck, in his, like, certain tools that he knew he needed that went with the truck. He'd have them. He'd have them in duplicates, triplicates, you know,
Right.
and if it was something that was valuable, you know, Snap-on, Craftsman, whatever, that's good stuff. Yeah, I gotta, you know, and that's the big thing when he'd go yard sailing, is he'd look for tools. And
You know what I found that's one of the best things to have around is one of these screwdrivers that, you know, it's got,
okay.
You know, so on one side you have 2 straight slot bits, and on the other side you have 2 Phillips.
Yeah.
You know, and these things are just like so handy around the house, Just like when you just need a quick screwdriver, those things are great.
Yeah.
Multi-tool.
Well, and I think, and you guys are probably somewhat the same. I've probably got screwdrivers and different little things like that stashed throughout the house. It's almost like you hear people, maybe former military or whatnot, they have guns stashed throughout the house, knives stashed throughout that. You know, if somebody breaks in, they got to, if I need to use a screwdriver, I got one stashed here, stashed there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't remember where I got them stashed, but I got them stashed everywhere.
How do I do this?
It's kind of funny because then, like, when I was doing these ratchets, I went to take a snap-on ratchet apart, and it had a little torque screws on the back plate. So I went into my toolbox, and I have this set of driver bits. I don't use bits as much as a lot of other people because I don't do a lot of dash stuff, late model dash stuff. The guys at the shop, the body guys, they live and die by the bits.
Yeah.
I don't, but I have them because I've used them. So I took out that set that I had Brian get me. I forget who the manufacturer was. And it only went down to 8 torques. I'm like, God damn it. So, and on my rail, I think I didn't have anything smaller than a 10. So I come down to the basement and I had the little set of bits that came in the American Eagle socket set. I put those in the basement here. That had the number 8 in it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later on, when I was going through my screwdriver drawer, I realized on the side, I had a set of Torx drivers, like in a blister pack. I think they're Weehas or something. And there's a number 8 in there. So, it's tiny. But I was jonesing from it. Like, don't tell me I don't have this tool. But I did.
That's one of them things. Like with my dad, he would, it may be something that he don't use all the time, but he'd find something and he'd say, you know what, you never know when I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
I better get it just in case I need it. And it guaranteed eventually he'd find a use for something. But he always, some of the oddball stuff he had, some of the, he had a lot of regular stuff.
So what's your main, do you have like a main composition of your tool collection or is it just a mixed up, whatever you get?
It's mixed. It's whatever I can get. Some of it's stuff that I inherited from my dad. Some of it's I've got one of those open driver sets that's I ran up to Lowe's and picked up a Husky. It was a socket set with the little ratchet, the open end ratchet.
Right.
And that was one of those things. I think when I got it, I didn't need it. But I was like, hey, I've needed something like that in the past. I think I'm going to grab that. Yeah. And sure enough, about a week later, I did need it. Okay. And but it's just different things. A lot of times what I have now or what I purchased recently is more out of necessity. I'm in the middle of working on something and I need something. And some of those times that I need it, it's something I seen a month or a year ago and was like, I ought to get that. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to spend the money right now. And then a year later, I'm going, you know what? If I had gotten that, I wouldn't be making this trip to the store right now. And now it don't matter what they're charging. I got to get it.
You got to get it. I went to stopped in Lowe's with my wife last week. I was looking for a hose reel, but I of course went over to the tool. I said, yeah, I just got to look for something over here quick. I didn't have to look for anything. I just wanted to go see what they had. I wanted to go through the tool corral is what it was. But so she thinks I'm looking for something. And I got to say, man, they went heavy with Craftsman. I mean, Craftsman, everything. They still have DeWalt and they still have Ryobi. And there was another brand they had that I wasn't familiar with. No Milwaukee at all, but they were heavy. It looked like I was in a Sears. It really did.
Yeah,
crazy.
I sent the link to Keith Gill. He's I don't know if you've seen. I think he was asking about a plasma cutter. I wanted to answer, but I sent him the link. He wanted to know how to get on the show.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So
already sent you a text?
He sent me a text and I sent him the link for tonight. Okay. So I told him to click on it and go to the back, to the backstage. So if you see somebody there,
Yeah, yeah. I minimize the screen, so I'll see him when he comes in.
Do you guys, Brian? Do you guys sell plasma torches?
Oh yeah, yep.
And here he is.
I mean,
Hey.
I got one right there.
Yeah, here's a guy that wants to drill a hole in the end of a Phillips head screwdriver to make it I want to see you do that. If you can do that, you got my props all day long.
That won't work? It sounds like it would work.
It would work. It would just be very difficult to do, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You holding that screwdriver, you might be a tamper-proof finger. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm already thinking what I would want to do is I would want to take the shaft out of the screwdriver and chuck it in a lathe, and then hit the stock of the lathe with a small drill, because to get on that little flat on a Phillips, even a number 2 Phillips, you got to be dead on nuts precise.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's definitely crazy.
So how's Floridia, Keith? What's going on down there?
I don't know. It's nice weather all the time, so it's get to work on the cars all year long.
Yeah, except when the state's getting rolled into the sea by a hurricane or something.
Yeah, I'm further enough away that nothing really happened. Had a tree knocked down. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. So what have you been up to?
So, working on stuff.
Good.
A bunch. Good. I don't know. I have like
Keith,
10 cars.
Isaac, Keith.
Hey, Isaac.
Hi, Keith.
Brian.
Keith is around a while. And then Isaac is one of our newer guys. So it's good to see. We all play in traffic nice. That's okay.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna get some of my. I have some Matchbox cars, because I know you guys are talking about Matchbox cars a lot.
Yeah.
But I have a ton of Johnny Lightning stuff.
Yep, Johnny Lightning.
Well, I wouldn't say a ton of different ones. I just collect like the cars that I have.
Yeah.
And then I'll just buy like can you see that? Cyclone.
Oh yeah.
X-Men. There we go.
Yeah.
But I buy, and then I'll buy like as many as I can of just this one. So I have like triples and duplicates and quadruples.
Have you tried to do any custom work on them yet, or have you tried? Because I was dumbfounded because I started with my 55 Gaster. See, I've taken it apart.
Oh yeah.
And I stripped it down and started, because I started realizing like I was searching the universe because I wanted the snake set,
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And I came across a guy on Instagram, and he had about 18 of these things. And of course he did like candy this and candy that, and this, this color and skull bones and, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, so if I just keep it original, there's even less of them. I mean, because people are doing so many customs.
Yep.
And I was like, man, it's crazy. But the custom world is huge. I mean, people...
my friend Jeff builds a lot of models and modify. He makes models that never existed. Like he'll take the front of a 55 Chevy pickup and then graft it onto like a car carrier or a flatbed. But my other friend Joe was a lot of time, he was pinstriping the Matchbox cars, which is that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
See, this is my obsession.
Oh yeah, yep.
The Borla.
Yeah.
But I saw 2. I bought 2.
Yeah. Yeah, the old square body. The square body, and did that have a Cyclone in it too?
It has a Cyclone. That's why I bought it.
Yeah, and the square bodies. Yeah.
Yep.
I got that. Was a hard one to find around here. Anything square bodies, virtually.
I just go on eBay and I just buy them. That's why I don't have to go look around.
Yeah. Take the fun. You gotta go for the hunt.
Yeah. Nah.
Go for the kill.
I can't stand going to the stores.
I want to tell you guys a shopping
saga
that I have. I went through the whole thing with the water pump. That finally came in, $240 worth of water pump. I'll probably be doing that job tomorrow. But my clothes dryer needed the rear seal that goes on the back of the drum. And all right, so I went to this appliance repair part where I just got the parts to fix the the gas valve and all. $47 they want for this freaking little seal with a tube of glue. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? So I start looking. Well, I did my search, and the first thing that came up was Walmart. So I went right past that. I'm like, well, Walmart ain't gonna have this, because a couple of years ago I was looking for something. I was looking for some Power Probe stuff and some Autel, an Autel little hand scanner, and Walmart came up, and I looked at them, and it said Walmart had the Power Probe 3 and it had the scanner. So I actually went to Walmart and I'm looking in the order. I'm looking for it, and of course they didn't have it.
Yeah, they're using a server to go through. They get a. That's just like when Lewis, when we went on the playing for traffic thing, they had the Amazon link, and if you go through that, he gets a little kickback.
Okay.
And that's what. And that, like I said, they pay that money to get a kickback of going through their server thing.
So what I did with this seal was I went through 3, 4, or 5 places that came up, and they were all about the same price. Some of them had it without the glue. And of course, it said it was an automotive glue, a high temperature automotive glue. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So out of frustration, I went to the Walmart link and I clicked it, and it said the seal with the glue was like 18 and change. With shipping, it would be like $19.94. I said, now that's what the damn thing is worth.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I was pissed off enough to say, I'll play, add to cart. So I added it to cart. I said, go to checkout. Takes me to a Walmart page, and I'm looking at, I thought it might have even been a scam, but there was something on there about seller information. So I click on it, and it takes me to a website of an appliance repair place.
Yeah.
In the Midwest. I was like, son of a bitch, they're doing like what Amazon is doing. They're selling through Walmart. So it's shipped from them. It's obviously not shipped from Walmart. And I bought it. And you know what? It came in the other day. I'm going to put it in maybe, tomorrow. There it is. I'm like, I almost spent $57 on this. The good thing, it pissed me off enough that I wasn't going to spend that kind of money. So now I'm going to look at that Walmart link all the time. Be damn sure of that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. It's like everything else,
Well, now, plus I'm going to go back and look at that seller and investigate his site more. Maybe just buy direct from him. So, yeah, just another little selling lesson, buying lesson that I learned. Yeah.
So I went to a car show this past weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I had and it was Hearst. It's called Hearst Haven. It was in Bradenton, Florida. But so it was basically all Hearst vehicles, Hearst Olds and Pontiacs and stuff. And Linda Vaughn was there.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And and I have all these. Brian probably knows
Johnny
these.
Light. Yep. That's the one
the
I
Johnny
was trying to
Lightnings.
find the other night. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna bring these because I have Linda Vaughn on them, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get them signed. And guess what I left home? Halfway there.
No.
I got there. I'm like, I forgot to bring them.
Yeah.
But I did get. Let me see if I can't reach it with this headphone. Hold on.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's when you become your own worst enemy.
You were talking about all the different customizing and stuff. I mean, even with the GI Joes and stuff. I mean, they've got where.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Cut out.
Nice.
I spent the money, bought the cutout, and then I got her book.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then I signed it.
I think I have a book somewhere here too.
So you had her sign it. Did you get it signed?
I don't remember. A lot of the stuff I have is signed, but I can't even keep track of it anymore.
Anyway, that was.
But yeah,
I wanted to get the car signed.
There's a lot of all kinds of different stuff, whatever you're into, like the Hot Wheels, whatever, where there's dedicated groups that they're into customizing and whatnot. Even if you remember when I first had come on a month or so ago, Brian, you were asking about the planes and stuff hanging up.
Yeah.
Both of the Su-27s, the Russian planes, I took those apart and painted them in their type of paint scheme, and detailed the display board where the pilot controls would
right.
be,
Yeah.
you know, and I think I did, like, I just threw it together. I was playing around with it, whatnot. I've seen where these guys have taken these and they've added wings to them. They've added the forward canard wings, and they've done all the kind, like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing. And then there's one group that there's a actual website dedicated where the guy makes, he put together the molds where he makes the little machine guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he sells them. And it's
there's a Toyota, I think it's a Toyota, it's a Matchbox.
Mhm.
And it's got a camper on it. And there was also another one, can't remember what it was, but there was a guy that had a 3D printer, and he made it up with a different type of camper, you know, to put on this and box it, you know, to change over. And like I said, there's a lot of guys that do a lot of crazy stuff with them.
I found, I guess you remember the TV show Airwolf with the helicopter. There's a guy that a while back I looked. I haven't seen any updates, but he made a 1/18 scale, which would be relative to the GI Joes, the
Right.
3/4 inch. He made an Airwolf that he 3D printed and put together, and he was gonna sell. And then there was another one that made a Mi-24 Hind and helicopter. And I was like, oh, you know, those would fit, you know, with my theme and stuff is, you know, basically NATO or US versus Russian. So
the Axis powers. I have a Toyota too.
Yeah,
FJ.
that's FJ.
But he's not a.
Is that one of those Maestos?
You know, let me see. Hang on. Whoa, what the hell's that? Who's making noise?
Look at that. It's Mr.
Hey
Paul.
guys, how's everyone going tonight?
What's going on? What are you at a car show?
I'm in Chattanooga at the Chattanooga Motorsports Festival.
Yeah. How's that going?
Well, I just finished a meeting with the team that I'm working in the pits with. That's why I wasn't able to get in quite at 9 o'clock. So I apologize for that.
No problem.
But we just finished the meeting.
And you froze. I guess Chattanooga Wi-Fi isn't what it's necessarily not wrapped up to be. Oh well.
Come. Technology.
Yeah, that's the FJ Isaac is a Kinsmart. I don't know. My daughter got it for me a while ago, and then she actually she gave it to me in this. So this is kind of weird. What you had to do, she made this as a garage. So you'd open the garage and look at this, right? Of course, the top.
Right.
Look what's on the.
Oh,
but she's an equal opportunity girl.
Boo! Yeah.
And
had to come by and give you a little graffiti on that.
Of course, she signed it on the back.
Yeah.
So that's why she made the garage for me. So
that's awesome.
That was cool. Yeah, she's very creative.
Those are the gifts that are the best because it. Not only did she go to the extent of doing it, but it says something about you that she knows about you.
Right. Exactly.
You know, those are the best. Those are awesome.
Exactly. You got that right. So yeah.
My daughter gave me a birthday card. It was either a Father's Day or a birthday card. I think it was a birthday card, and I kept it. It fit her. It said it was something like, Dad, sometimes I want to hug you and sometimes I want to punch you in the face. And I was like, it's so perfect. It's so, right. You know, especially because she's got my temper. She's feisty.
There you go. Yeah, just saying it like it is. That's good.
Are you back, Paul?
It's like he's walking down the hall.
Yeah.
All right. Keith, have you been keeping up with the lineup here? We got a lot of new faces.
Yeah, I watch every week.
Oh, you sorry bastard! You.
I know that one guy that the View. I'll put it on. I'll just let it go, and I'll just watch it.
Right.
3 hours is a long show, though.
You know what? I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch anything that's 3 hours. I watch a guy who does he does some like true crime stuff, and his stuff will typically go like an hour 40, an hour 50 sometimes, and I always fall asleep.
Yeah, 40 minutes is like my limit of what I want to watch a video for.
Well, he's got kind of a soothing voice, but his content is very, very good. It's just that I always find myself dozing off like in an hour and 20 or something. And then like the next day I go back and rewatch a half hour of it.
Yeah, I watch a couple of diecast guys, and it's funny because they start out and and I'll click the scene. I'm like 2.5 hours. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. You know, and or like I said, one guy he gets a little, I don't want to say carried away, but it ends up being like, this is part 4, and it's like, holy crap, dude.
Well, that was always a good thing, like with this show, because, we had 2 or 3 different shows going on. We had the first show, and then after Lewis would leave and we'd kick it off, we'd do music, food, we'd take it off into another area. And I always said, like, if you really want to see the best part, you watch like the last half hour.
Yeah.
The last 15 minutes when it really got to the nitty gritty of like who's having what for snacking tonight. Those were the best. So it was kind of like a third show into itself, but yeah, I don't know. I was thinking a tour of a hotel over there somewhere. Just go through the.
All right, so can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic. I'm down here at the Chattanooga Motorsports Festival, and man, this place is incredible this weekend. I've never in my life of 55 years old, been doing this my entire life since I was a young child in the early 70s of doing World of Wheels type shows, seen anything like this. It's and today's only Thursday.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to see what's going to show tomorrow, what's going to show on Saturday, and then the concourse event on Sunday is supposed to be really crazy. I understand that tomorrow, and you guys just have to watch my Facebook page and see what kind of live videos come up and what kind of pictures get posted. There's supposed to be more than just a couple. It's apparently a lot of some of the most elaborate, best of the best Ferraris that there are in the United States, all on display at the Marriott Hotel down the street.
Is there a general theme to the show, Paul, or is it just wide open?
It's I have not figured out the general theme. I have not seen any of the paperwork. I did get my credentials so that I can get back to the track tomorrow because I'm working in the pits for one of the race teams tomorrow and Saturday. Luckily, just kind of fell into it. Timing wasn't all that great, but I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity.
What type of cars are going to be competing?
What I saw in the paddock today, because we just came back from the track, we left the track at about 7:00 Eastern time. Was one class was 1900 to 1920, the brass era pre-war cars. Then they had some other pre-war cars, so from 1920 to 1942 or 1948, wherever they called the line for pre-war. And then they had the divisions of classes for the post-war, under 3 liters, over 3 liters. There are retired vintage NASCAR cars here. I didn't take any pictures of it, one of Jeff Gordon's old race cars, one of Dale Earnhardt's number 3 Chevrolet Monte Carlo race cars. There were some real Cobras here. There's some Jaguar XKEs, and one of the XKEs is the race team I'm with.
Is that the one you put the pictures?
Yes, the one I showed the pictures of.
Yeah.
There's a Devon here. You don't usually see those too often. There was a Cheetah.
Oh, cheetah. That's cool.
There was a lot of unique race cars out in the paddock and in the pit area today. And then there was, I don't know, 15 or 20, somewhere between 15 and 20, Formula V, which is a Formula 4 or whatever type car with the Volkswagen engines and the transaxles in the back. One gentleman I got to talking to, who apparently is somewhat local to me at my new place in Texas, let me sit in his car. So there's some pictures on Facebook of me getting into and then sitting down in this gentleman's car. And he claims that, and I got his information again, he's somewhat local to me in Texas, that come springtime or in the next few weeks, we're going to hook up. I can go through some classes, schoolroom type class training, and then you go out on the track in a race car for about 2 days.
Wow.
Nice.
And then when you come off the track after the 2 days of formal training and sitting in a car and they sign off on you, you can have a license to drive one of these things.
Wow.
And then they will loan you a car if you want to go racing. Which is kind of incredible. And again, this is all part of the whole networking thing.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have been invited back. I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
With everything going on in my life, I almost didn't do it. And I was very sarcastic, almost an asshole to the guy that I'm working for this weekend, because I really wasn't going to do it. But he's like, yeah, you know what? I haven't done this in about 12 or 15 years. Let's do it. So I worked it in.
Cool.
I probably should have been here yesterday, though.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what's the hashtag WFTF?
WFTF stands for Wrenching for the Future.
Okay.
It can be worded other ways,
Sure.
but the legitimate PG-13 acronym is Wrenching for the Future.
Okay.
Wrenching for the Future was started by a gentleman, and I'll go ahead and give him his plug here now that you brought it up. Started by a gentleman named Roger Quast. Roger Quast was one of the gentlemen with Rat Rod Magazine before the breakup of Rat Rod Magazine. And he started Wrenching for the Future. It's a true 501(c), whatever it is, charitable organization. And this guy does some fantastic work with our youth.
Nice.
Because once we are all gone, if we don't pass our information on to the younger generations, it's going to be lost.
Well, yeah. And then again, let me ask you this: Were you ever formally taught or have had things passed on to you from a generation that preceded you?
My skills and knowledge were passed on to me through the shop setting, not through a formal setting.
Right. I'm the same way. I learned in the jobs I had, and it was my own drive, and then my own, educated myself and took what I learned and built on it. So I was never. I had no older mentors that taught me how to do stuff. But I do go out of my way to grab younger guys and show them how to do things the right way, or at least a better way than what they're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of us weren't really trained that way. We'll talk about it, but we really weren't. It just wasn't something that was done back then, I guess.
No, I met Roger in 2019, and instantly him and I kind of had a click, and we talked. And last year in July, I talked to some people, and Roger was getting ready to do a charitable build for a gentleman that tried to commit suicide. He had been a young man who was 14 years old at the time, tried to commit suicide because he was being bullied.
Oh, wow.
And there was talks with the parents, and there was talks with the school, and this is all during the COVID thing. And this kid came home from whatever activities he was doing that day after being bullied by some of the neighborhood kids, took his dad's .22 pistol and put it in his mouth and pulled the trigger.
Oh, wow.
Well, he survived.
Good.
He was injured to the point where he was in a coma. And when the gentleman woke up from his coma, keep in mind he's a 14-year-old young man, wakes up from his coma, and the first words out of his mouth, and I might get a little choked up here a little. When I heard this, I got choked up the first time. First words out of this gentleman's mouth, his name is Alan, was, "Dad, can I go home and work on the car now?"
Wow.
Apparently, he was being bullied by his peers because he liked old cars.
Oh, geez.
He liked 56, 55, and 57 Chevrolets. He owned a 56 that he was building with his dad. And he liked Elvis. This is the reason he was being bullied.
And this was in what year, Paul?
This was last year in 2021.
Okay.
I guess the suicide attempt was in 2020. And the build that we did for him through Wrenching for the Future was 2021. So again, in the heart of COVID, he's being bullied by his peers for liking old cars and liking Elvis. And
I mean, it sounds like this kid had everything right going for him.
yes,
As far as I'm concerned.
yes, he did. So Roger got wind of this. Roger from Wrenching for the Future got wind of this. And he said, "You know what? I'm going to grab a group of guys together. Who's got some time to donate? We're going to build this kid his car."
Yeah.
And he put a feeler out there. Well, keep in mind, you, me, we're all on the East Coast for the most part that's in the room tonight. We're all on the East Coast. This was in Nebraska.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I was getting pissed off with the people I was working with at work. And I'm like, you know what? A road trip would do me good right now. Roger, I'm in. He's like, great. That's fantastic. Is there anything else? We need some parts. Who can donate parts? So Roger put the feeler out across the interweb, and I put the feeler out amongst my guys. And one gentleman said that one of the things Roger needed was an intake manifold for a small block Chevrolet. A friend of mine said, "Hey, I'll buy his intake manifold," and called the gentleman that he knew at Pep Boys Speed Shops. Pep Boys Speed is known throughout the country. And the gentleman he spoke to at Pep Boys Speed said, "You know what? We're going to donate towards this project too."
Nice.
Pep Boys Speed stepped up and filled my Honda Fit with as much stuff as could fit in a Honda Fit to drive out to Nebraska with the components needed to build this gentleman's car.
Wow.
How far off was the car from being finished? Like, how much work did you guys have to do?
Well, there's some YouTube videos out there of when we started. When I arrived in Nebraska that day, and I had a carload full of parts, and I met another gentleman who had the transmission for the car with him in St. Louis, and then we went the rest of the way to Nebraska together. When I got there, and this was done at the fairgrounds for a car show that was being held at the fairgrounds in Sioux City, Iowa, or Sioux City, Nebraska. It's the same town, two different states. I think the actual fairgrounds were in Nebraska. That we started with literally a bare, rusty frame on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, wow. So you needed everything.
That car was assembled and started and running on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, nice.
Chassis assembled, engine and transmission into the chassis, body onto the frame and bolted down, steering components in place, and braking components in place. 3 days time, 10 people, all volunteered, all donated parts.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Then the car club that I belong to, and Mike, you may have recognized it or not. Asphalt Angels of Maryland.
Yeah.
Asphalt Angels of Maryland stepped up. They paid my transportation costs when they found out what I was doing. There was voted on at a club meeting that they would give me whatever it was going to take for me to travel out there and back with all the components from Pep Boy Speed that was donated. So between all these organizations, we built this kid a car in 3 days.
Nice.
Hey, that's awesome.
And it was rather emotional. And we got another build, Wrenching for the Future. Roger, I don't want to say we, because I'm just lucky to be invited to be part of this. It's his deal. He's got another build getting ready to go on at the Rankin University, which I guess is a big trade school in Missouri. So I'll be going out there for that build as well.
Is that where we could find the videos from the Chevy build?
You can find the videos from the Chevrolet build on Wrenching for the Future, as well as just looking YouTube and Google Wrenching for the Future or Scene of the Crash 2021 was the car show that the build was done at. So Scene of the Crash has the videos as well.
Okay.
Apparently, that's a pretty big rockabilly rat rod car show.
Okay. That's great. That we need more of that. We really do. So where is this fella today? What is he doing today? And
the gentleman that tried to commit suicide?
Yeah.
From what I understand, I got an update roughly 90 days ago. Because, like I said, the car club, Asphalt Angels of Maryland, they stepped up and donated the finances for me to travel. I didn't ask. They offered, so I accepted. I got an update for them to put into their newsletter about 90 days ago that the car is continuing to move forward, that Alan is doing very well in his recovery. I think I failed to mention when he tried to commit suicide, the bullet severed his spine.
oh,
He
shit.
is paralyzed from the waist down,
Wow.
is subject to a wheelchair, does not have use of his legs. And one of the things that was being done to the car was hand controls.
Right. Sure.
His 56 Chevrolet will have hand controls and his wheelchair accessible or whatever, so he can move from his wheelchair to the car to drive it.
Wow.
The way it was getting set up. It was not that way when I left the build, but that was a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
But I still get the updates, and that the gentleman is doing very well. He's continuing to recover. He knows not to do anything stupid like that again.
Yeah.
And that he knows that in the event he's being bullied again by somebody, all he's got to do is pick up the phone or put one post on Facebook, and he could have 50 people in his house within minutes.
See, now he's a younger guy, right? How old was he when this happened?
He was 14 when this attempt
16.
happened.
Oh, wow, he was really young. Okay. Because I was going to say, in high school, I'm just going to use me for example. I was in high school in the 70s, and I was listening to doo-wop music and Elvis, and we had like greasers and jocks, and I wasn't a jock, so I hung with the greasers, and we were into the 50s stuff still and whatever, and the antisocial side, but we were the car builders and the mini bike builders, and that's what we did. And I know back then, at least, everybody came to try to intrude on us or give us crap. we were also the fighters, so we would just step up and say, yeah, come on, bring it on. You know what? You're not getting over on us. And I think there's some kind of a breakdown in society with younger kids. Now, 14 is really young, so I'm not gonna fault the guy. I really couldn't do that. I thought he might have been a little older. I don't see that as much now, where kids really stand behind what they believe in and make it their lifestyle, and will go to the mat for it. I don't see that as much now. So it may be
it's not there. You're correct, and it's just not there like it was. Now you were in the 70s in high school. I was in the 80s in high school. I actually never graduated high school. I would have graduated in 1985. So mid 80s, from 1980 to 1985, in those Reagan years, it was very much the same thing. You had the jocks. They weren't greasers, but they weren't car guys, because car guys were kind of going away by that point. We still did have auto shop in high school. I was with a group of people in our high school. There was over 1,000 people. But I was with a group of people, about 7 or 10, and we're still all pretty tight today, called the Misfits is what we called ourselves.
Yeah, there you go.
Because we didn't fit in anywhere. We were a bunch of misfits.
Which high school did you go to, Paul?
I went to Northwood.
Oh yeah, Northwood.
I was the last graduating class of 85 out of Northwood in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yep.
And then all the Northwood students either went to Kennedy, Montgomery Blair, Wheaton, Einstein, all those other lower Montgomery County schools during that time frame. But Northwood shut down. And, we were one of the last of the industrial arts program schools, because there's really no industrial arts anymore in high school.
Right.
So auto shop was being closed out. I guess now for industrial arts, they got podcasting and internet and, web design and how to do apps and that kind of thing. So that's today's society. Whereas years ago, it was automotive, it was metalworking, it was the electrical, it was the woodworking. It's just not there anymore.
It's funny. Last night, but before dinner, I'm cruising the channels, and Corvette Summer was on TV.
Awesome.
Oh, that's
a good
awesome
movie.
And I haven't seen the whole movie in a long time, and I love the movie. I hate what they did to that freaking Corvette, though. But I always
it was just another Corvette.
I know. But it just, the thing about that movie that really resonates with me now more than ever is the fact of that community of that power tech class, that auto shop.
Yeah,
they all just came together and worked on that car. And then a little piece of trivia, we always talk about like the American Graffiti cars and their lives. But that Firebird that the guy drove in California, that was the car that Frank Poncherello bought in chips. That was the formula that he bought, and of course they had to ruin that too with the shaker hood and the formula hood scoops. They had to put both hood scoops on it, which I thought was terrible. But
I remember that car.
There.
No, there's certain movie cars, and I think the majority of you all know that I had something to do with the Ferris Bueller car.
Yeah. Okay.
The Ferrari?
Certain cars that are just iconic. California Kid, Corvette Summer, Knight Rider, the General Lee, all these cars, Ferris. All these cars are just iconic cars. And the Ferris car, no, that was not a real Ferrari. That was a kit car manufactured in California. And the guy that was manufacturing those kits, he was sued and shut down by Ferrari as soon as that movie debuted.
Really?
I don't think that movie had been out for 24 hours before Ferrari had sent out their paperwork to kill that guy's company on copyright infringements. So the Ferris Bueller car, because that company, those cars were on loan. There was 3 of them used in the movie. Here's your Ferris Bueller trivia history. There's 3 cars used in the movie. One car in the opening scene was nothing but a stage prop. That was a mule that didn't run. There was no engine and transmission in it. That's the car that sold at Mecum auction like 2 years ago. The car that went out the back window during the movie that was destroyed for the movie, that was an operational car. It went out the back window. It's destroyed. It's gone. The car that I was involved with is the car that was used in front of the high school and the garage scene where they show it being jumped and they show the car flying through the air in the movie.
Yeah.
That happened.
Really?
And the evidence is there underneath that car of when I did the restoration work on how hard it hit the ground.
Wow.
That car also has a curse with it, if you believe in that kind of thing. That after the company was sued and shut down by Ferrari, part of the bankruptcy is it was sold. It was sold. It was wrecked in the movie. It was wrecked to the people it was sold to.
Wow.
It was then wrecked again and sold again.
Oh,
It then went to Europe. It was in Europe for several years where it was wrecked again. Where it was then sold off at Christie's auction house over in Europe in like 2009, maybe somewhere in that time frame. And it came to the United States. Gentleman that I did the work for bought the car on an internet bid at 3:00 in the morning, and way overpaid. That car was expected to bring $30,000, and he paid a lot more than that, probably close to 3 times that.
wow.
Plus the travel expense from Europe to Baltimore. And then when the car got to Baltimore, they couldn't even get it out of the docks because it didn't run. The car was sad. And this guy just bought this car that he couldn't even drive. He couldn't even start. And he got a hold of the gentleman that I do some work for part-time. And Greg agreed to take the job on. So Greg calls me and says, "Hey, I got something that's kind of up your alley. It's kind of a famous car, and it's got a Ford engine in it, and it's got a C4 transmission, and it looks like a Ferrari." I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, "Well, it's a 250 California Spider." I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" I got the car in the shop that was in Ferrari Bueller's day off.
Wow.
Okay. I got no time to help you right now. He goes, "Paul, can you at least come down to the shop and see this thing and give me some advice?" "Yeah, I'll come down. I'll see you." I'm like, all right. So 3 years of my life got sucked into doing this car. And when it was all said and done, it actually turned out really nice. So Bob, the gentleman that owns the car, he owns it. It's his car, but it's kind of on loan to the National Museum of Historic whatever through the Smithsonian Institute and some other situations. So the car has been on display in the glass case down on the National Mall. The car was on display at the Hershey AACA Museum. The car, actually, I think right now is on display up in Detroit, because I had a gentleman tell me not too long ago where the car was on display.
Henry Ford Museum, maybe?
That's what it is. It's at the Henry Ford Museum.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
That car's on display at the Henry Ford Museum. So a friend of mine in El Paso, Texas, Dale Earnhardt. Dale, love you, guy. I'll send you a link to the video tonight, Dale. Dale says he loves that car. So right around the early September, I knew Dale was going to be in Missouri at a car show that I was not able to attend this year. I usually go out to Missouri for that car show. And I knew Dale would be there. So I got a hold of the guy. I said, "Give me your address. I'm going to mail something out to you for Dale when Dale arrives. Just give it to him. He goes, okay. So I mailed Dale some pictures of the Ferris Bueller car while we were doing the restoration, and then of me and my wife standing next to the car at its first debut at what's known as the Rockville Car Show in Maryland. That's where we first debuted the car after its restoration. So I sent all that stuff to Dale out there because he has it on display in his shop. So that car is very well known. I'm very proud to be part of it. At the same time, I'm not proud to be part of it. It was just another job. It was just another car to me. It's not a real Ferrari, but it does kind of fit that narrative of Rat Rod. Multiple cars used to create one.
Yeah.
What was the donor car that it was built on?
Multiple cars to create one. There is Dodge Omni parts there.
Really?
There's Ford
Wow.
Mustang parts there. There's the handcrafted molded fiberglass body of the Cal Spider. There are true Ferrari parts on that car. There are MGB parts on that car. There is Summit Racing parts on that car. Give Summit their plug. There's a little bit of everything in there. The shifter that's in the car now is not the same shifter that was used in the car in the movie. If you watch the movie in front of the high school, you'll see Ferris reach down and pull a gear shift lever straight back. The shifter that was in the car was the Pinto Mustang 2 shifter.
Wow.
And it didn't have the Ferrari-looking shifter. What I did during the restoration was we got rid of, so I didn't truly do a restoration because it didn't go back the way I found it. We put a low car shifter in it. And I did a steel plate or an aluminum plate on the shifter gate to make it look like it's a Ferrari shifter coming up instead of a Mustang 2 Pinto shifter. So with the low car shift handle, it kind of resembles the Ferrari shifter. And with the plate there, even though the shifter only moves forward and aft, it looks like it's got a gated shifter gate. There's some other subtle things. If you watch the movie, and I got paid very good money per clock hour. This wasn't piecework. This was by the clock hour from the time I showed up to the time I left. I got paid to watch the movie over and over and over and over and freeze and take pictures of the screen that I'm watching the movie on because we wanted to put the dash back the way it was in the movie. And if you look in the movie at the dash of the car, it has Smith gauges and it has VDO gauges. Now, if it was a Ferrari, it would have had all Smith gauges.
Wow, Ferrari
Yeah,
Smith, huh?
Ferrari on a early 60s 250 would have had Smith gauges.
Okay. I thought that was specific to the English cars.
Yeah, the scene where they're right before they back it out of the garage through the glass, isn't that where the VDO gauges are?
You see the VDOs.
Yeah, that's because when you said the VDOs, I was thinking about it, and that I pretty sure that's where I remember seeing they were VDOs.
You see VDOs on oil pressure, water temperature, and I don't remember if there was an amps gauge or a volts gauge in there originally.
I think it was.
It has a volts gauge in it now because it went back with a volts gauge. But the speedometer and the tachometer in the car in the movie, and you can see it in the jump scene at the garage scene, are Smith. So we put Smith gauges back in as the tach and the speedometer, and VDO gauges are in for the fuel level and the water temperature and the oil pressure, and we got a VDO volt gauge. Now that car should not have a volt gauge. That car should have an amp gauge.
Yeah.
But an amp gauge is a fire hazard waiting for a place to happen. So I do not, whenever possible, I do not ever put an amp gauge back during a restoration. We always put volts gauges back in their place. That was rather unique, though. Again, that was 3 years of my life got sucked into that car.
So the company that originally did that car, the mold or whatever, is that the same one that did the Ferrari Daytona for Miami Vice?
No, that was a different company.
That's a different one.
Now it might have been the same people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the history beyond the companies, but no, that the company that did the Ferris car was literally shut down within 24 hours of that movie debuting.
Yeah.
And he was an up and coming kit car manufacturer who, if he hadn't copied the 250 Ferrari, because he was making some other cars too. He was making Cobras. He was making 34 Fords or 32 Fords or something like that. They would have been an up-and-coming fiberglass kit car company in the 80s, along with everybody else, because everybody else was, creating those kit car companies back then. They were all doing well. But because he duplicated a 250 Ferrari and then it got its recognition, Ferrari has the power to shut you down. They did. And they had to sell the company or bankrupt the company. But Classic Motor Carriages out of Florida, they're the ones that did a lot of Cobra kit cars and 34 Ford ZZ Top looking cars.
Mm-hmm.
They changed names 6 or 7 times. They keep declaring bankruptcy and restructuring and keep working.
Yeah, there was a down here in Florida. There was a guy doing Bentley kit car over. I don't remember what it was, but he got shut down too, and he changed the name. And now he makes, I think it's the Vader is what he makes now. The Vader made on the G35. He uses G35s over I think 350Zs.
Oh, well, that's an ideal platform.
Yeah.
To use as your donor.
Yep.
Classic Motor Carriages, every one of their donor cars was based on a Pinto. Mustang 2 Pinto.
Mustang 2, yeah.
And believe it or not, those cars are actually starting to be valuable. People are seeking after the Classic Motor Cars kit cars. Factory 5, I think, has the upper end of the market. I think there's more Factory 5 Cobras out there than there are original real Cobras.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Factory 5, and I think Superformance has a big corner too.
Yes. Now, I've worked on virtually everybody's Cobra kit car. Superformance actually is a decent kit. Factory 5 is actually a decent kit. I can't say anything bad about the kits. I can say something bad about the assembly work done by other people prior to me seeing the cars. But the kits themselves are actually pretty good.
There was a really big company back in the early 80s. And I can't remember the name of them, but they were pretty salt out. People were trying to find them. They had like I think they had, it was like a 427 body, but they had like 351s in them. And I know 2 people that put down payments on them, and of course the company went bellied up, and they had like half of a car. It was kind of a mess. I can't remember the name of that company. It'll probably come to me about 3 a.m. when
Yeah, you'll wake up out of a dead sleep and sit up in bed and just yell out the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go back to
But
sleep.
my neighbor had one that was tied underneath of the porch. It was just the body, and I actually have a customer that has one that is sitting in the alley of his shop, and I can't remember the name, but they had gotten into legal problems after taking all this money from a bunch of people and getting only half the car. You know, it was kind of a screwy thing, but those were pretty accurate cars, body wise. So
Well,
it's kind of like looking for reproduction parts that were from 30 years ago are a lot better than today's reproduction parts. You know, it's kind of
yes.
crazy. I kick myself about looking for fenders, you know, because of that.
I've worked on 12, maybe 15 true AC Cobras, and I've worked on 35 or 40 Cobra replica cars. And to tell you the truth, the replicas are a nicer car than the originals.
Oh yeah.
The original AC Cobra 289 car, not the 427 car, but the 289 cars are actually better than the 427 cars.
Yeah.
I think they handle better. They drive better. It's just a nicer feeling automobile. The 427 cars are kind of piggish. You can feel that there's all this extra weight in the front half of the car.
Yeah. That was like I worked on a handful of early Vipers, and those things were like, holy crap.
The early Vipers were like, you're right, holy crap. Problem with the
Like,
early Vipers,
you're driving in this thing? Holy crap. I mean,
the car looks like it's going 70 miles an hour sitting still. And the problem with the early Vipers, I don't know if you've experienced this or not. I've seen 5 of them. And then a guy that I know that works for Kelsey Hayes, he doesn't work for him anymore, but at the time, right around 2000, he worked for Kelsey Hayes. He wanted to know how the hell I was able to obtain the kits that don't exist. These things are like top secret. They don't exist. The kits to correct the frames on those Cobra, because the early Cobra frames cracked and broke, and they had a repair put out by Dodge on how to correct the broken frames on the Cobras.
on the Viper.
On the Cobra or the Viper?
I'm sorry, on the Vipers.
Okay.
How to fix the cracked frame on the Vipers, because the Vipers, the frames would crack on the rear half of the left-hand side frame rail, right at the rear cross member and the area that holds the rear differential in place.
Yep.
They break, and then you create a clunky noise. And then the customer would go back over to Dodge, because these things were still under warranty, and go, man, when I shift from first to second, it's got this loud clunking, like something's coming apart. Well, the freaking frame's broken in half.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these top secret box plating kits that you put in there. And I did, I want to say 5. It might have only been 3, but I think I did 5 of them through the dealership. But the dealership wasn't doing them because they weren't capable of doing them. They sublet to the body shop down the street from the dealership, where I happened to be working part-time. And I ended up with the deal because they trusted me to do it, and they didn't trust anyone else in the shop to do it.
Yeah, we used to get them traded in.
I ended up getting screwed on the deal because I didn't get the extra money that I was promised. So I might as well have done those jobs for minimum wage.
Yeah, we used to, the early Vipers, we would get traded in at the Porsche dealer. And, they'd bring it back and say, you got to look this thing over. And I'm like, holy crap. These things, I mean, they were flexi flyers driving down the road in those things.
Did you see any of the ones with the cracks?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, we had some of them to come in and it'd be a banging noise, like something's getting ready to fall out of the car. And, like Paul said, it looked like it was doing 200 miles an hour sitting there on the showroom. I mean, it was a sexy car, but God, it was just crazy.
The frame might have been 12 gauge. I'm going to go with it was probably like 14 or 16 gauge. It was super thin.
Yeah.
It was not frame structure thickness material.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Especially
crazy.
for that much torque.
Yeah.
But the it's still to this day hush top secret on those repair kits that they sent out. And you had to drop the rear down and you had to plate the steel up in there and you had to grind and then you had to undercoat and you had to reassemble, and Dodge was only paying a small percentage of what the actual repair was. And then if the customer agreed, they paid the additional remaining factor. And I was supposed to get XYZ amount per car. This was in 2000. This was August of 2000 when I started doing them. No. I think right around August 2000 was the last one I did. I would have done the first one in like 99 or right around January of 2000.
It's just kind of crazy that the customer should have to pay anything at all.
Yeah,
you're right.
Something like
it is crazy. The customer would have to pay anything at all. But it had to do with, because it wasn't going through it was going through the dealership, but it was not going through the dealership. We were an independent company that was certified by the dealership, and we were doing, they had a body shop at that dealership, but they weren't doing collision work. They were just doing basic repair and some paint touch up bumper type thing. They weren't doing anything major. All the major collision stuff was sent down to us, and then all of a sudden we got a couple of these Vipers in. And those Vipers were coming from other dealerships rather than just the one dealership we were dealing with. And again, I was up in Frederick, Maryland at that time.
Was that on the first gen coupes? Was that with the open top, or was that also on the the GTS Vipers, the ones that had the hatch?
Every one I did was the hardtop coupe looking car. That doesn't mean that the other ones didn't break too. Those are just the only ones I saw. Yeah. And to be completely honest, every one I did was red. Huh. And I know they made them in other colors than red. It's just the majority of them you see are red.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was only 3 colors.
Yellow was
the
one
first. The first ones or whatever. I think there was only like it was either 1 or 2.
Red,
it was 2.
Wasn't it red, yellow, and black?
Red, yellow, and black is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
I thought it was blue. I thought there was a blue. I thought it was blue.
There might have been a blue one came in later. It's kind of it was kind of like the Monte Carlo Super Sport in the 80s was only available in blue originally, and the Grand Nationals were only available in black originally.
Yeah.
But you could get a Grand National without the Grand National name tag. Just says T-Type or Turbo Regal in any color that Oldsmobile offered.
Yeah.
And then the Monte Carlos became available in red, burgundy, blue, white, all this other color. But the first years that the Monte Carlo Super Sport was offered in the 80s, they were only available in blue with a blue and white interior. Now, I want to say those early Vipers were only available in red, and then they introduced the other colors.
Yeah, I know.
But I could be wrong. I don't know. Hell, that was over 20 years ago. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast 3 days ago.
Yeah, at least you can go back 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I did 10 minutes ago.
Oh, 10 minutes ago, I walked across the street talking to you guys.
That was a little longer than 10 minutes, but okay, Paul.
10 hours ago, I was driving to Tennessee.
10 minutes ago, you were telling us that when they got traded in, that you had to look them over, Brian.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, man, I thought I was like, that's a cool car. And the first time I drove one and saw one, I was like, holy crap. I can't believe people are buying these things.
Now, you were working for Tischer back then?
Yeah. Yep.
I want to say the guy's name that owned Tischer was Danny. Is the owner's name Danny?
No, it's Rudy Tischer. Rudolph. He was the guy that owned it. And his daughter ran it, Petey.
His daughter ran it. Was his daughter married to a guy named Danny?
No.
I know there was a guy named Danny that was involved in all that in the 90s over there on the other side of Laurel.
Yeah, it was that was I don't know. I mean, they had Volkswagen over there, and well, you know, the original Volkswagen store was down there. And then they had the Acura and what was the other? Acura and Nissan.
I was going to say mine, but it might have been Nissan.
Maybe it was Nissan, Acura, and then we had the original store was at the Volkswagen. And then of course we moved the BMW, Audi, and Porsche over, and Subaru was in the air park. That's where I started, in the air park.
Okay.
I think that place was only like a year or two old when I started there, and like I said, I was there for 20 some years. So, but yeah, like I said, we get them in, traded in, and. Whew. And the funny part was the used car guy was like, "Oh, we're gonna make money on this thing," and I was like, "Man, get rid of this."
No, you not. You just lost money. As soon as you gave him his trade-in value, you lost money.
I was like, "Yeah, get rid of this thing, man." So that was funny. We had Covington Buick around the corner, and they had all the Grand Nationals. So when you went on a road test down 29, it got kind of interesting.
I'm sure it did, but Covington had a couple Nationals. I think Covington got one GNX.
Yeah.
Because in that time frame, late 80s, mid 80s to late 80s, I was working at Rockmont Chevrolet.
Rockmont, yeah.
Before Bobby Orsman bought Rockmont, and then I was part of the transition with Bobby Orsman when it became Orsman's Rockmont Chevrolet.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, his uncle or his cousin, somebody in his family, ran the parts department at Covington Buick. So my friend Thomas worked at Covington Buick, and I worked at Rockmont Chevrolet. And we had friends that all worked at Sport Chevrolet, and we had friends that worked at, what was the name of the other one? Not Sport. Can't think of the other. Chevy Chase Chevrolet.
Yeah.
It was like all of us, we all knew each other, and we'd share the stories amongst all those dealerships in that area.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things on why I got away from doing the dealership work, because I learned enough in the 80s to get the hell out.
Yeah, that was it was always interesting because, like I said, you'd coming down 29 and you look up and see that dude in a Grand National behind you, and you knew the next light it was on. So
yeah, from Fairland down to Cherry Lane, and then did the U-turn at Cherry Lane and go right back up to Briggs Cheney.
Yeah. Yep.
Past
Those
Briggs
were-
Cheney, go all the way up to 198, turn it around again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something. So
Well, back then, the Briggs Cheney pits were still there. You could go four-wheeling back in the pits.
yeah. You go back there and you had we got back there. We thought we were going to have to spend the night because the state boys would sit back there and wait for you to come out because it was one way in or one way out. And you had to stop and then you had to walk up and you'd see the trooper sitting down there waiting for you to come out, and you'd sit there and hope he got a phone call or he had to go, take a leak or get something to eat or get a new cup of coffee because you sat there sometimes waiting before you got out. You'd find all kinds of stuff sitting back there.
We got chased out of there one night, and I was riding in the back of somebody's pickup truck. I was in the bed, we were riding around, and we got chased out of there by a helicopter. And you're right. You came up to the top of that one section where you went over the dirt pile that led you back out on the Briggs Cheney Road.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get out that way because all the cops were out there. So the guy I was riding in his truck, he said he knew another way out, that we could go over off of Gunpowder Road.
Yeah.
He knew how to get over to the other side of the pits and come out on Gunpowder Road. So next thing I know, we come up in the middle in the drainage culvert on 95. I'm in the back seat or in the back of this guy's pickup bed with all these beer cans surrounding me because, that's what you did back there. You drank a bunch of beer and all the cans were thrown in the back of the truck. And the guy is riding the side of the wall of the culvert on the middle of 95 at the truck at like a 45-degree angle. And he's trying to come up out of there before he has to go either into the pipe or wreck the truck.
Yeah.
And I think I know we come up out of the culvert and we're on 95, either heading north or south. I don't know which way we were going. And it's like, we were just in the woods and now we're on 95.
Yeah, that was funny. I had a car stolen and it was from Academy Ford. My Mustang was stolen from the dealership. And of course, the cops were giving me a hard time. They thought that I took the car, and they were giving me, I said, well, could you please go back in the pits and look for it? And the guy goes, and how do you know about the pit? And then of course I had, that's like opening the whole can of worms about, how do you know what goes on back there and what, so, but they actually found it. They found it at Landover Mall.
They found it in PG County, of course.
Yeah. And that night they took 5 cars. They took 5 Mustangs that night, and mine happened to be one of them, my 5.0. So those were the good old days.
Yeah, back when you get a brand new 5.0 Mustang for what, 10 grand, 12 grand?
Yeah. And beat the snot out of it for sure.
So aside from this pits area you guys are talking about, you're talking about where you'd see the Grand National and where you go up and turn around. So I take it that's kind of was the cruising area way back.
That was 29 is interstate or so that was right out front of the dealership basically, and that 29 would run basically from Baltimore all the way down to DC, and it's a 3-lane highway type thing. And we would, like I said, you'd roll down the road and all of a sudden a Grand National would pop up on you, and then from stoplight to stoplight you were getting
or a 5-liter LX or a 5
yeah. Well, I mean, you're right, because in that circle of dealerships, you had a Ford dealership, you had a Chevrolet dealership, a Grand National. Then you had your upper Mercedes and a Volvo back there, and a
GM should have been there too, right?
Yeah, so
GMC.
GMC. So you get a guy in a Corvette, or a tech in a Corvette, or a Camaro, or a 5.0
Cyclone.
Mustang, or
GMC Cyclone.
any of that stuff. So at any given minute, you just never know when you were down and doing it. So hopefully the customer wasn't driving by in their car,
Right.
and their other car, wondering why there was some kind of excitement going on. So speaking of drag racing, I don't know if anybody saw what's the girl Faye on her Toyota. She was at a Toyota event and drag racing, and the car next to her husband was driving it, I think, from what I remember. And it's one of those new Toyota Supras.
Supra, was it her Supra?
And one of only 500 made or something. They were at a Toyota event drag racing, and both cars got off on the line, and she wrecked the side of the car. I mean, the car was caved in. It was pretty interesting.
I think she had it on an episode of All Girls Garage where she had just gotten it or something, and
she had just got, but she was at a Toyota event. Actually, she had been. She got hit in that car, or somebody, I can't remember if it was she got hit from behind, head on, or hit. That car had been through one thing already once.
Wow.
She's got a little history with that car. But I was thinking of you, Ray, when she was showing the picture. The other day when you cut it loose on the streets there next to that other guy.
Next to that.
Anything can happen, dude, in a blink of an eye. That's
right. That's how fast it happens.
Yeah.
You're buying 2 quarter.
All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a night because apparently I'm supposed to be back over at the track at 7:30 in the morning. So I got a long day ahead of me. But please, if you don't know how to find my Facebook page, go look for my Facebook page and see what kind of pictures get posted tomorrow and what kind of videos get done tomorrow.
Yeah.
So to anybody who's still watching the live feed tonight, nothing's private on my page, so you should be able to see it. You can just look me up and find all the pictures from Chattanooga, as well as, I don't know, 10,000 other people here that are going to be posting pictures from Chattanooga. So it's going to be an incredible weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the owner of the car that I'm with is going to be very, very happy. When he came off the track tonight, everything's set to go. He should have next 2 days of trouble-free, and I can just sit back and watch and collect a paycheck.
What's your Facebook page?
Paul J. Lyons.
Lyons?
Lyons.
Okay.
For some reason, I have not made the No Class Facebook page yet. I was actually given a hard time about that the other day.
Huh.
I wonder why.
Because apparently a lot of people go look up No Class.
Okay.
Because No Class has made a name for himself in the Midwest amongst all these rat rod guys. And then more and more people go looking for me. And they're like, well, we can't find a No Class. We can't find you. Well, did you look for me or did you look for No Class? Well, we looked for No Class. Well, there's nothing there under No Class. So maybe it's time to make the email No Class and to make the Facebook page No Class.
Yeah.
It's been out there for a year now, so I guess it's time to do it.
All right, Paul,
if it didn't fade out in a year, I guess it's mine to keep.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping in and catching us up, Paul. That was good information. It's good talk.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoy every time I'm invited on the show. So thank you guys for having me. Sorry I missed Lewis tonight. Or Lewis, you here still?
Lewis was not on tonight. He was having trouble connecting, so we started without him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
For a minute, Ray almost had his own show.
Yeah, so I'm reading my emails.
Lewis sent me the link. I guess he saw that I was down in Chattanooga, and
Right.
he sent me the link. And I said, tonight at 9. He said, yes. I said, well, all right, I'll see if I can come on.
Yeah,
So we got everything wrapped up. I went ahead and came on.
right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Hey, you guys are
Awesome.
great. I appreciate. Look, after meeting Lewis and especially Taylor, Mr. Longshot,
Long shot.
The friendships that are continuously week after week after week get made. It's some of the best things that have ever happened to me. So thank every one of you.
You got it.
And my door is always open in Texas. So whenever you guys get down to Texas, because another few weeks in the Mid-Atlantic, I'm out of there.
Out,
Right.
huh? Out for the
I'm
count.
out.
Not gonna stick. You're not gonna stick around for the good winter.
No, sir. have fun. Have fun heating your house without me.
Yeah.
Because where I am, if it snows, it's melted by the time the sun comes up.
Yeah. Very true. All right. That's good.
All right, guys, you enjoy. See you all
All right,
next
Paul.
week.
Good night.
Yep.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Brian, with Faye's crash, did you see a video or was it just on her Instagram?
It was on her Instagram. She posted a picture. She had posted
I'm looking at
it. Yeah, she said, "Well, I better put this out. It's not going to stay a secret too long." And she kind of gave the scenario what happened. She talked about in there before she said something about the car had saved her life once, or she had gotten hit or something.
She got hit.
So what happened on the launch? I guess right. She lost it on the launch.
Yeah, she said that her husband was. I think her husband was driving in the car.
She must have been in the right lane,
said.
and then the car on the left must have smashed into her because the
car,
driver's door.
Yeah, the car on the left lane lost traction and came across
Smacked into her.
and smacked into it, and it tore it up pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good wrinkle. It's just not a little dent; it's a wrinkle.
But door, fender, rear quarter. Yeah,
It's not too many little dents on a racetrack, you know.
Yeah. So, but I saw that and I thought that was kind of interesting or whatever. I
started following her channel. It's been a while since I've been on it, but I was doing some work on my daughter's 4Runner, and I forget what I was working on, but I went to look it up, and her channel popped up, and I was like, well, take a look at this chick, see what she's doing. And I really got, for one, she answered my question thoroughly, and it helped me do whatever I was working on. But I started watching her. I was like, she's pretty cool, and she explains a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really like this. And then I was trying to get my daughter into watching it because my daughter's into the different piercings and the tattoos and stuff. And I'm like, hey, you got to check this out. She's into Toyotas like your 4Runner. You know, you can learn something. And hey, she's a chick and she works on cars. You could do it. Of course, my daughter's like, I'm not going to be a mechanic, Dad.
Yeah.
So,
she started Volkswagen. She's it's funny how some of those Volkswagen people, you know, of course, you know, going into Toyota, which, you know, if you think about it, it's not a bad thing because it's one of the most common cars, and they're fairly, I don't want to say they're not complicated. A lot of German stuff is just, you know,
over engineered.
over engineered to the nth degree. And, you know, like I said, I find a lot of those, especially females in general, I give a lot of support as a father that has 3 girls, and I tell them they can do they're just as well. They can do anything that anybody else can do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, to have people like that as a, you know, not as a role model or as an example, I give a high praise.
Yeah.
In the line of being in the car business, you come across a few females that are mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I first started working on cars, 30 plus years ago, the shop that I worked in, we had actually a girl that was a mechanic, and that was, you want to talk about really odd, that time frame. That was a long time ago. It's a little bit more common now. And unfortunately, a lot of them, they go for a road test and come back pregnant. So they're not in the business very long. Or
I have never worked with the female mechanic, nor have there been any in any of the shops I've been associated with.
I've got a few now that are customers,
Yeah.
And, like I said, I always give them
Actually,
a lot of support because
I
think it's great.
At the main shop, from the one I work at, the main body shop, there is a girl. I mean, I don't work her because I don't work over there, but I thought she was a guy.
Oh.
Because she's wearing work clothes, and she's short hair, and she's Mexican or Hispanic. I think she's probably Mexican. And just her facial looks, I thought that she was like a kind of like almost an effeminate looking guy until I found out, no, that's a girl. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's just it's a tough line, and I follow.
Well, this way you get to sell pink tools,
The pink tools.
Well,
pink toolbox.
One of the girls one of the females or girls that I have, Leslie, it's green. She, I got her with all the green stuff, and it's funny. Like I said, they have their color just like any other guy, about their color type thing. So, but I the few times that I've like you said, Faye is interesting, and like I said, you could talk to her, you could ask her a question, and she'll answer. She's like I said,
I found her the same way Isaac did. When I got the FJ, I was looking up transmission fluid changes because the truck doesn't have dipstick, and hers one of her videos was one of the ones that popped up, and I watched it and said, hey, she knows what she's doing. It's like, okay.
I think that's one of the same videos I watched.
Yeah, probably because she was.
I know the one you're talking about.
She was measuring it by the fluid capacity, and that's how she knew how much to put back in. And I think it wasn't on an FJ; it was on another truck, either Tacoma or something. So
it was
I find
either a 4Runner or a Tacoma, but I think it was a Tacoma.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I find it interesting when she was first in the scene. That's a Toyota work uniform. I mean, that's a service uniform, and that's what the Toyota guys wear. Yeah, but I noticed here lately that she has that uniform. I mean, that color uniform, but the Toyota patches are missing. So I was kind of curious. If it's funny,
I think she worked at a Toyota dealership. I think.
Oh yeah, no, she did.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that I noticed that the before the patches had a Toyota emblem. Those uniforms had the Toyota emblems on them, and of course it had her name on it, and it had they're stitched in. Well, the last year, I think, or the year before, on all girls, she's wearing the color pattern, but it doesn't have the Toyota markings on it.
They might have asked her. They might have asked her to take that off for
Yeah, I just think it's. I mean, when you got somebody popular or something like that, that's why, like Paul was talking, Ferrari. Their what is it? Legal department. They're vicious. Hell, I can't even tell you how many times when I've listed something on eBay selling, like some Snap-on trade-in tools or something, and I'll list something. I can't even tell you how many times I've been contacted from Snap-on lawyers about I got to yank this, or I can't sell this, or I can't word it the way I had it worded, or whatever. I mean, they have those watchdogs that do that, and actually I had listed something that was originally a blue point, and I had listed for the eye catcher I had put Snap-on blue point blah blah blah. And I got a nasty email telling I had, to take it down because that's not Snap-on, that's Blue Point. So when I reworded it, I said, Blue Point sold by Snap-on.
Right.
Then because like I said, under eBay, like when you want to put the word that hits. Blue Point's not that big of a word compared to Snap-on. You type in Snap-on, you get everything under the sun from, from tools to toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you get a wider search.
Man? You got a Hey Macco Man eBay page?
Of course not. No. I'm not allowed to have that. That was in my prior days. I don't do stuff like that. I'm a company man. I go by the franchise agreements. Are we still being recorded?
No.
It's Hey Hot Wheels Man.
Hey Hot Wheels Man.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do stuff like that, Ray. I would not break the rules of my agreement.
I know.
I'm straight as they are. Just ask my mother.
But I want to know. I want to know now how. What else you cleaned out from under the sink in the bathroom? What else did you find under there? You guys missed it. Mine had a little bit of a home explosion.
I
heard it as I was going on.
Yeah, as my wife said that I was, trying to kill her with the toxic fumes from the chemical. Let's see here. There was some hand soap. There was a box of OxyClean. There was some shaving cream, which I really don't use, and there was a Winnie the Pooh bubble making machine that I don't know how long it's been under that sink with the big bottle of bubble maker. That's probably I want to go look at the date. Actually, it's probably like 20 years ago when the kids were little or something. So,
wow.
But that I don't know what's more upsetting, that I lost a really good bottle of that CFS. I mean, because that's like that old stuff. We talked about this like carburetor cleaner stuff. You know what I'm saying? That old stuff you only use for special occasions because when the package has a skull bone and crosses on it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. We have to cherish those.
I do have an old can of CRC. Wait, not CRC. It's the
Breckable 2+2.
Yeah, Berkable, right? The 2+2, the early stuff. I have a can of that. It's I posted it a while ago with a new and an old can together to show they're very close. They're very similar.
Yeah.
So
that was I guess somehow or some way the bottom of the can kind of rusted out and it popped.
Yeah, I still find it odd that it would explode though. I mean that's pretty odd.
Yeah, the wife said the wife goes, I guess I don't. I mean,
where it's getting wet.
So, but I think it's the wife goes, I heard something. I heard a noise that I normally don't hear in the house, and and it's one of the few times that she was actually all alone. Because Brianna's working and Emma was had gone to school. And it was just, like the old days, her and the dogs. And she said that the noise, she was like, and then all of a sudden the aroma of the toxin, she didn't, and of course, when she went to go look and opened up the my bathroom is the washer and dry, it's the washroom type thing. And she said the smell, I mean, she said it filled the whole house smelled like the stuff. So
Yeah.
she, so it was
Well,
kind of funny.
when you were talking about it right before I signed on, and you said she said that it smelled bad. I'm thinking, oh great, it was in the bathroom. A sewer pipe popped, and
yeah.
that's that smell.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's very rare to get a phone, a video phone call from her. And I was like, oh no. And I could tell that she was in the bathroom, and she's like, there's a funny odor coming from your bathroom. And I was like, well, I haven't been home, so I don't understand.
It's not me, dear.
I'm like, man, I haven't been home. So what's this? She goes, I don't know what this stuff is. And of course, she showed, and it was, had come out from under the sink. It was all over the tile floor, and it's kind of like a yellowish color, and she goes, there's nothing in here that I can see where it's leaking. And I said, pick up that spray can, I mean, the stuff. And she goes, well, it's empty. And I said, yeah. I said, turn it over, and you can see the rust on the bottom of the ring. And so I was like, I don't, I still can't believe it had that much pressure under it, or it popped or whatever, but it was a mess. It's definitely a mess. So
Yeah.
she, so I got to finish cleaning that mess up. And I think the backing, Brianna had cut the sidewall on her tire, and some dude helped her put on the spare, to put the donut on. And she called me, and she said the car's making a funny noise. I think the backing plates probably. She said that when the dude jacked it up, it fell off the jack. So,
good.
So I think probably the backing plate got bent.
It bent the backing plate.
Right.
Those things are so thin.
Oh, I know. They're a pain in the ass.
We were doing so. My sister inherited my dad's S10 Blazer, like a 99, and she purchased a brand new Toyota 4Runner, and she inherited, whatever you want to say, to my oldest son, the Blazer, and it needed ball joints. And so the agreement I made with him was, I'll help you do it, but I'm not doing it for you. Because one of the things is that's where my sister decided to get a new truck, because she had called me and said it's like $4,000 worth of work needs to be done on it. And I said, good, put a rag in it, light it, and push it in the wash. I don't want to work on it. But then she gave it to my son, and then she's like, well, now you're going to work on it, right? And I'm like, not really. Like, yeah, I'll help him, but I still don't want to work on it. But, and my son was good. He came over pretty much every day, and while we worked on it. And anyways, when we took the hub off to take the front axle shaft out, to pull everything apart, as I was pulling everything apart, I set the backing plate down and looked over right as his knee hit it, and I said, oh no, don't. And I said, it's thin. And I don't know, this has been like back in March, I think. So he may not put his knee, whatever he did. And of course, when we put it together, you go to drive it and you hear a whoosh, whoosh,
yeah,
and he goes, what's that? And I said, that's where that vacuum plate got bent. And he goes, I thought you bent it out. And I said, I did a little bit, but I said, it's once you bend it one way, it's hard to bend it back the other way.
Yeah, well, you've been here, then it's that, and next thing you know, it's like you're all over the whole
wonky.
circle of it.
Yeah.
And it's like you might as well just cut it off. I mean,
I was going to say, Isaac, right now, it dropped on social media this week. Matco's advertising his really nice bull joint press for sale.
that's it.
Yeah. New tool of the week.
I might have
New
to have
tool.
you send me the link for that. I want to check it out.
Was that the one with the cups that hold together?
Yeah.
Which one? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the number was, but yeah, it was a big C-clamp style with the cups. Remove and install them. And they used a battery-powered impact gun to do the work.
Yeah. Isaac, you just buy the truck. You just buy the truck and I'll send it on down. Don't worry.
Buy the truck. Your truck?
Yeah, you buy the whole tool truck. I'll throw in the pack. I'll give you the whole American deal.
No, thank you.
Brian, you got a uniform guy on your route that you're friendly with?
A uniform guy? No, why?
Yeah. Well, I always need more uniform pants. And
Oh.
I like getting them from other places because I do this. I got a couple of shirts. I got them at the Englishtown swap meet, but I wear them, and they have like other guys' names on them. And like guys say, well, you're not Brian. I have a Brian. I'm like, I know. But when the guy comes back asking for Brian and they tell him there's no Brian here, you're not going to know that it was me. I said, you never wear a shirt with your own name on it.
Yeah, I saw that guy. He was at Carlisle one year with all the old uniforms. That's he had a whole bunch of those.
I mean, I had like 4 pair of uniform pants that I bought. Nice, gray ones, good cotton, the thicker ones.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, I don't mind, buying the used clothes. I don't really care about that. But then I put a hurting on them. I've been using them, and I could use a few more.
Yeah.
I got I have to look for them now, but I've got a couple of Dickies coveralls that I picked up at Walmart.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked for any recently, but I had one pair that I used for working on the cars. And then I got another pair. Gosh, it's been quite a long time ago. A guy that I worked with, he did skits and stuff for public access cable. Little acting skits, and asked me if I wanted to act. And I was like, sure, I guess I'll try it. And he threw a bunch of different skits together. I wish I lost contact with the guy, and I had a DVD that he put together for me with all our skits that we did, and I can't find it. I wish I could, but we did I got a set of coveralls because we did Chicanos in space, and his idea was kind of like Star Trek based, but we're Chicanos in space. And I said, hey, we need to get some coveralls for our uniform. I said, think Star Trek. They have those uniforms. And he's like, well, but it doesn't have to be flashy. I said, no, it's like a gimmick. It's funny. Think about it. I said, we're always thought of as if you think of Chicanos or Mexicans, you're thinking we're either a mechanic, a landscaper,
utility guy.
Yeah, I said, so what would we wear? We'd wear coveralls.
Yeah.
I said, that's our space uniform, our space suit. So that's what we did. Speaking of which, I've got a funny story. My younger son, he wanted to go to school outside of the district to play football. We went to their football camp, and it's on how do you say it? A higher class, a more well-to-do area neighborhood. And so my son he looks a lot like me, but he's got blonde hair.
Oh.
Mom's blonde. And I'd come pulling up in my S10 Blazer. It's a 95. It's, it's rough looking, especially when you go up to that school. And I'd pull up, pick him up. We'd leave. And especially during the summer, I tend to get a little bit darker. And so a couple of the kids were asking, "Hey, Diego, who's that Mexican guy that picks you up all the time?" He's all the Mexican guy, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a guy. He's Mexican." And he's like, "What guy are you talking about?" He comes in that beat up white blazer, the Mexican guy. And he goes, "That's my dad." And they're like, no, it can't be. No, that seriously is my dad. Hello, my name's Diego. That's my dad.
So that's my driver.
So I told him, of course I got slapped for this, but I told him, I said, "Hey, when you go back to school, you tell him, hey, that's the gardener. My mom," and you tell him, "My mom really raves about this gardener. She says he's the most awesome gardener ever. I don't understand it though. He never seems to get any gardening work done, but my mom says he's the best." He thought it was funny. Mom didn't think it was funny. I got sacked for that.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it was the funniest thing. It was the Mexican guy that keeps picking you up.
Yep.
Oh, man.
So we gotta get ready for credit cards. Gotta go out and look at Brianna's car so she could drive it tomorrow to make sure. Hopefully it stopped raining.
I think I can't tell if it stopped here or not. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's supposed to start raining for us in the next day or two.
It's supposed to go through the night. It was supposed to go right through the night till morning.
So
I know I got to do this.
Here's our excitement for the week. Let's see. Pivot.
Oh, the puppy.
Yeah, my daughter brought home this puppy. One of her sorority sisters, I guess, was in an apartment where she couldn't keep it, and she was gonna have to send it to a shelter if she couldn't find it a home. And my daughter asked, and we said, "Yeah, that's fine." She has to take care of him, but yeah, it's half husky and half German Shepherd.
So nice. Be a big dog.
Got the real white color, light colored eyes.
Right.
But
my golden got a groundhog the other night, and that was a mess.
Wow.
So, he when he was younger, we had a Westie Terrier, Max, and those are little dogs, but I mean, he caught everything. I mean, I can't tell you, between mice, snakes, birds, he caught and trapped a deer in the backyard.
Wow.
I mean, he was just a hunter, and I guess he kind of rubbed off because with the Golden, Riley was with them, because Riley's the same way now about hunting everything. I thought back, this was a few years ago. I mean, I guess Max has been gone for what, 6 years, 7 years. But this is back, when the bird flu, or the swan, the bird flu thing. Yeah. Well, I'd go in the backyard and I'd find a dead bird, and of course it was all over the media about, reporting dead birds that you find, and, because of this bird flu thing and all this crap, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm picking these birds up and chucking them in the trash can, and hoping like, nobody sees, put them in the brown paper bag and throw them away. And I'm like, holy crap. And looking around, and one day we had, I think it was, I don't know if it was a cherry tree, but it had a white flower. What kind of tree was it?
Like an orange cherry blossom?
Yeah, it was like a cherry blossom tree, but it was a whitish flower that was on it. I don't know what type of tree. A dogwood? Is that what? I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not. Well, whatever. Well, Max is white. Well, he would lay underneath this tree when the thing. So it looked like snow on the ground, and of course, Max being white would blend in to this. So one day he's sitting there, and I go to the door and I give him the whistle and come here, and he looks over at me and gives me that look like F you, I'm busy. I'm like, what's this dog doing? I said, get your ass in here. And the dog's like, shut up, old man, shut up. So I said, all right, let me see what's going on here. So I pulled up a chair, sitting there by the sliding glass door, and he would sit there long enough and a bird would land in the yard. And he would position himself just right. So he would, as like when the bird turned, I guess to get out of the view, he would jump, and when the bird went off, he'd smack it with the paw.
Yeah, he was camouflaged.
And he would knock the bird down. He'd go over and stick it in his mouth and break its neck.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, that's where the dead birds are coming from. Okay, we don't have a bird problem, we don't have a swine, flu thing. And, sure enough, he'd come out and there'd be 2 or 3 birds laying by the door. And the girls were little. They'd say, oh, look at Max down there playing with a stick. And I said, that's not a stick, that's a snake. And they said, no, it's not. And they'd run down the backyard and get about halfway down, and he'd be playing with the snake and swinging it around. And, like I said, to be a snake, but it was really interesting because on the snakes, he would bite it right behind the neck or on the back of the head, and it would break the jaw and lock it open. So it'd still be alive, but it couldn't bite him. It couldn't use its
wow.
thing. So the snake would just sit there, instead of like this, it'd break it and open it up like that.
That's pretty wild.
Do you guys
he'd play around with it, and then when he got bored, he would just go over and smack it along the side of the house or a fence and
stick it in the bird pile.
Yeah, so I was like, God, this thing, this little dog would just catch anything and everything. But
do you guys have poisonous snakes up there?
Yeah, we have. Most of them are just garden or corn snakes type thing, but there's a few. We have
water moccasin.
Water moccasins. I can't think of the other one. Not it's got a diamond on its head thing.
Eastern diamondback.
Yeah. We don't have any rattlers around here really, but. Yeah, Max was old. You never knew what it was. One day we were getting ready to go to school, and I'm sitting on the couch with Molly, and and Max runs over, jumps up between us, and he sit there, and I was like, man, what's in your mouth? He spits out a mouse.
Oh.
And I mean, it's like, oh God, dog. I mean, you just never knew what so he was something else, but
nice.
I tell you, Riley grabbed a hold of that damn groundhog, and thank God they don't carry rabies. They're not because it's a bloodbath, dude. I mean, tearing him up, and he got a nick around his eye. I tell him, man, he's lucky that because those when those groundhogs flip out their claws, it's like Freddy Krueger. So
we used to have an indoor-outdoor cat, and it would bring and put stuff up on the porch, and it got nailed by a rattlesnake. We noticed all of a sudden one day it got real lethargic, and then its cheek puffed up.
Oh yeah.
And then it started losing hair, and a buddy of mine was over, and we picked him up and put him down on the floor freezer where we could get a good look at him where the hair loss, and you could see the 2 fang marks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
he survived it. He ended up fine. He actually we have hawks out here, and he, even when he was a little bit younger, a hawk got a hold of him because he came home with talon marks, and
Jeez.
he turned and
Wow.
swiped the hawk.
Rough
And
life. That's 2 lives.
Yeah, tell me
yeah,
about
the
it.
rattlesnake, the hawk, and then all of a sudden, oh, and he used to get the because we get coyotes along the back here because we have the wash.
So that's
And,
2 of 7 lives, right?
Yeah,
Nine.
They get
Well,
9, right?
Not do they get 9? Is it 9?
I think they get
7 or
9.
yeah,
whatever?
9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, there were times I'd step out on the back porch to smoke or whatever, and I'd turn around and here comes that cat up over the fence, and I'm like, "What are you running from?" And then I'd hear the coyotes at the fence, and I'm like,
Oh,
"You need to stop messing with them. They're gonna catch you one day." Sure enough, probably about 6 months to a year after he got nailed by the snake, he just quit coming home. So we figured he got caught.
he got caught. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we have
crazy.
we have chickens, and we had a panther come in. We had like 8 chickens in there, and I didn't know. I'm cutting the grass, and usually when I cut the grass, they all flutter all around. When I'm over there, I drive by the coop. I'm like, oh, what the heck's going on? They're not stirring anything up. I look, and there was actually 2 chickens left.
Oh wow.
And it was just a massacre inside there. There was a hole ripped in the side. So we took those 2 chickens, moved them away, isolated them, and I stayed out. I left all the dead chicken bodies there because I'm like, this thing's going to come back tonight. So I just stayed out there. I stayed out there at night, just waiting, had the flashlight and everything. And I see this, I see a cat. I'm like, that's a really big cat. And I'm looking closer, and you know how they sit with their front paws down, and I'm looking. I'm like, I think that's a panther.
Wow.
I was like, holy! And I took I was like, I was going to shoot it. Well, I did try shooting. I missed. Probably a good thing because it's a panther. So it's endangered in Florida. And I shot that thing. It didn't even move. It just stood there. I was like, really?
What
And then it went in, took some dead body, and started leaving.
What were you shooting them with?
9mm.
Wow.
It's a handgun. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you can't see the sight,
Right.
and shine a light on it. So I didn't know really what I was trying to. I couldn't see where I was lining up to shoot. So whatever.
Yeah.
Now I have a little laser light and a flashlight on the gun.
On
so
the
now
gun,
I can. Yeah. So now I can see.
But
But yeah. Well, I was sitting up on my pool deck.
Oh,
I mean, it could have actually came at me, but if then, I had more rounds after that would happen.
Yeah.
But that's not.
That's
And then
crazy.
we used to. This was then years ago. It was about 10 chickens, and I used to, before I leave for work, I would just let them out every morning. I'll go out there, let them out, and it was just free range. I'd go to work, I'd come home, everything would be fine. My wife calls me one night, and she's like, she goes, "Where are the chickens?" I'm like, "I don't know. I let them out. I don't know where they are." And she goes, "Well, there's one. I see one here." I'm like, "One?" So I get home, I start walking around the property. I'm like, feathers. I'm like,
no.
oh man, this isn't good. And it turns out a coyote must have came during the day and just snatched them all they could.
Yeah.
And then there was only 1 chicken left, but then later the next morning we had 2. So one of them hid somewhere.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And survived.
That's when the neighbor invites you over for fried chicken.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
yeah, we got some chicken. Yeah, really. We had a barbecue today. Yeah. We got a barbecue. Check these out. Yeah, they were big chickens too.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But now, we've learned. Now we've fortified their coops and everything, so we haven't had problems recently.
Yeah.
We had at the beginning of the school year, because it was the first couple weeks of football practice. The coach that I used to coach with, he coaches over here, a couple miles from my house, and there was a bear sighting, and he had told me, he's like, yeah, we had to cancel practice and everything. And I said, oh, I forgot about that. I saw that on the news. So I forgot. That's right. You guys are in line with this area. I said, I told my daughter and my wife, just keep an eye out with the dogs.
Yeah, we have a lot of bears.
Well, I guess right now Brian's not going to be a chicken. He's going to be a bear, and he's going to go run his credit cards.
Get ready. Couple hours with that magic moment.
I'm going to go take the garbage out in the rain. I'm going to duck behind the rain, between the raindrops. So I guess we got to wrap this. So for Lewis Lee, who couldn't make it tonight, we carried on in his stead. Ray Guarino from Motormouth Radio, of course, Matco Man Brian. Keith Gill stopped in. We haven't seen Keith in a while. It's good to see you, Keith.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for inviting me in. Yeah.
And of course, Coach Isaac. So who wants to give who wants to tell people what not to do when I go out and take that garbage out?
It's all you.
Come on, Isaac.
I'll do it. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow us anytime you want, but don't follow us home.
You got that right.
That's it.
All right, fellas. You all have a good week.
You too.
So Ray, they did finish your roadway, right?
No, they ripped it up today. They ripped it, and it's clean, but I guess they have to. I guess they'll grade it, maybe level it. I guess, and then they'll tar it. I guess that'll be the last step.
It's tar and chip, right?
I guess. Yeah, it'll be tar, but they may have to come in and do some leveling first. I don't know how they're going to do it because there's like 4 side streets and the main road. We're going to see what happens tomorrow. But I'm kind of figuring I'll be housebound, but I got to do that water pump on the cruise. I have that ready, and then I got to fix the dryer with the seal. So if it's still raining, I'll do that inside. I got stuff. There's always something to do.
All right, guys. You all be safe. Watch out. Play nice.
You too. Be safe.
All right.
Yep. See you guys.
Hey, if you get a chance, Ray, can you send me that link on that ball joint?
Oh yeah, I
Ball
will.
joint.
I'll send it to you.
Thing.
I'll probably send it to you tomorrow. I'll make.
Yeah,
a note.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll make a note right now because if I don't make the note, we're done. All right.
Are you on it? Are you on Instagram?
Me? No.
No.
I'm on Facebook.
All right. Well,
I got to set up an Instagram.
Just send me your info, your number or whatever.
How do I send it to you?
Well, just friend me on Facebook.
Okay. Yep.
And then we'll go through we can go through Messenger or something.
Yeah, no problem. What are you under? Matt Coman?
I'm just Brian McKinney is my. I do have Hey Macco Man also on Facebook too. Either one. Or
yeah, because if I see it, Isaac. If I see it, I saw it as the. I don't remember if it was on Twitter. I know it was on Instagram. I know that.
It's probably. Yeah,
I gotta start an Instagram.
You should do that because then you can see all the crazy stuff that I do because that's where I put it all up on those sites.
Yeah. Well, I follow you on the Motormouth Radio on Facebook, but yeah, I need to get with the times.
Yeah, it's mostly the same stuff too. Yeah, I cross promote to all of them, but all right. Yeah, you know what? Send me a photo to Brian and hook up with him. And that's he'll send it to you on Facebook because that's the link I would get would be off Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe Matco direct. I think Matco probably they emailed it to me too. I think I get it through email too. Whatever. All right, we'll double cover the bases. That's all. Okay. All right, you'll have more stuff than you know what to do.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll fill your spam up. Don't worry, dude.
We'll fill you up.
They'll say, "Why am I so popular now?" Right?
Right.
Exactly.
All right,
Keith,
guys. Be
safe, brother.
All right, y'all take care. Be safe.
All right.
Watch out for those alligators, Keith.
Oh yeah, no, they're no problem anymore. I'm used to them.